It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
This is it. This is it. Friday before Championship Sunday. Bills and Chiefs. Tension is mounting. And we're ready here in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us to start your sports weekend. We appreciate you listening, however you may be doing so. 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can hear us in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Search out the sports bar on YouTube to find our channel. And you could like and subscribe there where we're streaming the show live on Twitch as well. I'm Danger, that's Battaglia.
Good afternoon, Michael Danger.
How we feeling, Gino? How we feeling?
I'm not afraid. Are you afraid? I'm not afraid. Ready to do a show here. And, if we lose the show, I'm not afraid to lose, buddy.
No, you're like the Bills. You're not afraid to
not
lose.
Afraid
not
to
anymore.
Lose. No.
You've a team that's learned how to win and a team that's not afraid to lose. We got plenty to get to this afternoon here in the sports bar. Not only will we continue to talk Bills and Chiefs with some of the best and brightest out there, we'll get some plays from PJ Glasser. He is the host of Send It In on the BetQL network. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ will let us know who he's got for both the NFC and AFC championship games.
Yeah, and if you want to sprinkle in a little bit of fun on top of that in terms of player props. I was talking to somebody today, Danger. I'm not kidding you, that was betting against the Bills as an emotional hedge. I've never heard that. But I guess if you're so invested in this as a fan, well, I mean, would you, honestly, theoretically, would you pay $200 for the Buffalo Bills to win this game? That's how this person's looking at it.
What do we say all the time when it comes to fantasy football or sports? But you got to leave your emotion at the door, man. You got to check that. You can't bring that into the equation. You bring in your emotion. I mean, I guess if you hate money, go ahead. Bring in your who drafted DJ Moore in all of his fantasy football leagues this year? This idiot. Who won any? I did not win a single league. My emotions got the best of me. Let me be the lesson. Let me be the guy. No emotional hedging. What's your thing for Survivor football?
Hedgers are losers.
Hedgers are losers.
So if you are thinking, well, if the Bills lose this game, but I took the Chiefs to cover, I'm all good. No. Well, okay.
We
you
want
live
winners.
your life the way you would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise that.
We want winners. We'll get winners. PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In, stopping by here in about 20 minutes or so. Later on this afternoon, we check in with Carl Jones from WIVB-TV in Buffalo. He makes his inaugural visit into the sports bar. Carl, also former defensive back for Syracuse. And we do have news today on that defensive backfield of the Buffalo Bills. We'll dive into the mind of Carl Jones about that here later on.
Yeah, well, we'll dive into it. It's Cole Bishop starting for Taylor Rapp, so I want to know, okay, Cole Bishop, yeah, it didn't go so well in Houston. What has he learned up until this point? Christian Benford hasn't been cleared yet, and on top of that...
don't worry about Benford.
All right, well...
Yeah, Sal Capaccio and Dr. Nick are there at the Blue Tent.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
He's good to go. He'll be good. He's fine. Not at practice today, though.
Not at practice, personal reason.
Yep.
So hopefully everything is okay in that regard. So, yeah, I would just be curious because Carl can kind of tell us, should the Bills go man here? Are you sending more? How do you go about defending? Carl Jones definitely has kind of an angle in the Western European that none of us could ever have. He played this game at the collegiate level, D1 for Syracuse. Carl Jones coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
We have time for your calls on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line this afternoon. We'd love to hear what you think. Your predictions at 866-4FAN. 585-866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
Okay, so you made your prediction.
I did. I was on the break room this morning. By the way, Ryan dressed up as me.
I saw that.
With absolutely zero prompting or prodding, he nailed it. I don't know. I mean,
you knew that was going to happen because he did Tommy, and the Tommy one was funny because he gave himself like the receding hairline.
Yeah, he was wearing.
Yeah, then he did
like a
Kimmy
bozo
last
skull
week.
cap.
Like, okay, you know what? He's going to definitely do Danger.
I was
a
thinking he
golf-
was going to do Duffy today,
Yeah.
but this is the long play. I would imagine that if the Bills win on Sunday, for the next Tommy Tells It Like It Is for the Super Bowl edition, that's when he will emulate his older brother, which I think is what the peasantry is just waiting for that. I think that's what everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, so Danger today wearing the golf cap.
He nailed it.
Yeah.
He nailed it. I mean, I knew that I was either going to be coming from or going to the gym, and Ryan, color scheme, he got me down. He got my mannerisms down. He did a great job. Did my prediction. Shared it this morning. I just think that there's too much going Buffalo's way for them to drop this game on Sunday. We've talked throughout the week about Kansas City's lack of success defensively against tight ends. Dalton Kincaid didn't play in Week 11 when these two teams met. Keon Coleman has been quiet this offseason with 5-yard catch in each of the playoff games. He also missed Week 11's matchup. I think he's a big play threat in this game. I keep going back to those two long passes in the divisional round last year, one to Trent Sherfield, one to Diggs, that didn't connect, and I believe this is where Coleman can shine. I think he gets a long play on Sunday. Milano also missing from Week 11. He's playing the best ball of his injury-shortened season right now. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Dorian Williams there. Plenty of reps covering Chiefs tight ends as well. And I know that we're tired of talking about it, Gino, but as far as the officiating, if we just want to address it this week against the Chiefs, or at least the media's perception that there's a controversy of the Chiefs getting favorable calls after you saw a couple of 15-yard flags for hits to Mahomes' head just last week against Houston. The refs, Clete Blakeman and his crew, might actually miss some obvious calls, and good luck getting any roughing call or anything really questionable based on what happened last week. That helps the Bills even more, and they already had the Week 11 game when the Chiefs had 57 penalty yards to 24 penalty yards for Buffalo. I like their chances, and the stat that I think kind of cements this. I know, I can't remember who sent it to me, so I apologize. The parallels between Josh Allen and Michael Jordan getting over that opponent that has held you back. I also like the idea that there have been 4 teams making it to the conference championship, trying to three-peat as Super Bowl champions. None of them have advanced to the Super Bowl. We're talking about the 76 Steelers, the 1990 49ers, the 94 Cowboys, who lost to the 49ers, the Chiefs, the first team to attempt that three-peat since the 94 Dallas Cowboys. And I think history repeats itself. They do not get to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills head to New Orleans, 30-21.
Where you like Coleman, I'm just going to kind of simplify it as, okay, will that middle of the field be more available to Josh Allen? Because I do think Trent McDuffie is really good. I do think Jalen Watson's good. He's coming back here, and he seems to be rounding into form after being injured. I just think, Danger, that middle of the field with the tight ends and the secondary target of Ty Johnson. This is a Bills team. This is Josh Allen taking what is given. You don't need to see Josh Allen whip the ball downfield. Last time, we saw Amari Cooper be a part of it. Could we see Cooper a little bit this time around? I refuse to believe that a team that's going to be trotting out there Juju and Kareem Hunt, and Isaiah Pacheco was listed as the lead running back, but when we were talking to Alex Gold yesterday from 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, he says, no, Pacheco isn't all there. Expect more of Kareem Hunt. The time has come. Here's my concern. Is Sean McDermott ready to take that last step? I pictured how this game would go. And I picture the Bills doing the right stuff. I picture the Bills getting to halftime with a lead. And then the third quarter comes. It's not like the Chiefs are going to roll over and say, well, it was a good run.
Yeah. They'll make adjustments.
They will make adjustments. They will fight back. And then it's on. That's the way this league is. It is. You saw Baltimore do it. And you could say, well, it's because the Bills were conservative. Are the Bills ready? They did it against Baltimore. And trust me, it wasn't a drop pass, okay? Sure, it was a drop pass, but I'm saying you still had a lot of time on the clock. The answer is yes. I have the Bills winning this one 27-17.
Ooh, 10-point.
10-point
Technically
win.
a blowout. Blew it. 10 points.
To me, 10 points with the Chiefs.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. It just the vibes around this team have been too good all season. They are too cool right now for me to see them going into Arrowhead and not beating Kansas City. Do I think that Mahomes will make plays? Yes. Do I think Mahomes is due for an interception? Absolutely. Do I think he'll throw a pick? No. I think both of these quarterbacks know a turnover could cost them the game. So you have to protect the football. And I don't think either of them are going to throw anything into harm's way. Mahomes, with his ability to scramble, death by 1,000 paper cuts, I can see all of that happening, but I can see the Bills' defense stiffening up when it needs to, like we've seen it do a lot of this season. And even if they don't, I mean, what kind of a game do you want to play? Do you want a shootout? Because we'll hang. We've shown we can hang with some of the best in the league in a shootout. Do you want to play it tight? Okay, we can do that too. Ball control, you want to keep it out of Josh Allen's hand? Good luck with that, because when he does get the ball, he's going to score and score quickly. We've seen that as well. It's a team that is not afraid to lose anymore. They've learned how to win, and they're not afraid to lose. Loved what I saw out of them in the first half against Baltimore. I believe that they'll have enough against Kansas City to take them down. What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you at 866-4326-585, 866-4FAN if you want to share your prediction for Championship Sunday. And oh, by the way, I think the Commanders are going to beat the Eagles. I like Jaden Daniels. I want to get PJ's take on Philly and Washington, but that's another team that they're not going to be afraid of Philadelphia. They've beaten Philadelphia.
Well, it doesn't happen too often. Last time both teams won on the road, one was it, in the championship.
Ooh.
I know the answer to this because I looked it up because I was thinking, man, am I going to take Washington? I better look up to see the history of this.
Tell me.
2018.
Okay.
That was the Rams winning, or Nicole Roby-Coleman.
They were a
call.
6th seed, weren't they?
Yep.
So they were the
New
last
Orleans.
6th seed?
They went in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the D Ford game. So it would be very full circle for the Kansas City Chiefs then to lose a game at home, and now, to end this, lose a game at home.
Sure. Yeah, Washington is a 6th seed. I mean, 6 seeds make it to the Super Bowl. Now, rookie quarterbacks traditionally do not, but Daniels is a special player, man. He is special, and I like their chances of going into Philly, getting that win. And by the way, if that happens, I'm partial to taking Washington because I'm so in love with the Super Bowl quarterback curse that we've been discussing throughout the postseason.
Well, if Hurts gets back, does that break the curse,
yes.
Or does he have to actually win the thing?
No, if he gets back, that's enough to break the curse. Because it's never happened. They never get back. Once you make a debut and lose in the Super Bowl, you never make it back. And Jalen Hurts has already made it to the Super Bowl and lost. He's not going back. If the curse holds. If they win, the curse is broken, and Jalen Hurts will be the first quarterback since the Kelly era to make a return to the Super Bowl after losing in his Super Bowl debut. That's the curse. And I'm so enamored by it. I love it. I think it's amazing. And that's why I think Washington is going to win, because I think the curse is real. And I think Washington
It's like Roethlisberger, no, he won one first. Russell he won one first.
Yeah.
Like all these guys.
It's insane when you see the list of quarterbacks that have made it, lost, and never made it again. Some of them are really bad quarterbacks. Some of you are like, oh God, I forgot about Chris Chandler in Atlanta, Rex Grossman in Chicago. Gross. But like some of these guys you want to say, oh, what about Kurt Warner? No, Kurt Warner won his first Super Bowl against the Titans.
Steve McNair never made it back.
Right, never. Amazing. So that's my dream Super Bowl scenario there. Washington, Buffalo. My brother-in-law's a big Washington fan. My nephew's a big Washington fan, so I'm kind of pulling for the Commanders.
Well, what would that? Well, gosh, we can explore that. Like, what would that look like, New Orleans, if you got the Eagles and the Bills down there? Oh,
yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Absolute bedlam. There are other headlines from around the NFL today. We discussed what's going on with the Bills. Taylor Rapp out.
The official injury report came out. So Rapp is out. Benford's questionable. They list Balin Spector, but he's not even going to be activated, and that's it.
Okay. So look for more Cole Bishop. Look for more Cam Lewis come Sunday. Milano and Taron Johnson both participated in practice, if I'm not mistaken. Full?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
So they're good to go. And, Benford is in the concussion protocol. To the rest of the NFL, because there's a couple of interesting stories here.
Where do we want to start here?
Well, I think the biggest headline is Pete Carroll returning to the NFL. But the bigger story is what's going on in Jacksonville.
Oh, I would say the bigger story is, you settled on Brian Schottenheimer? What's going on? Because apparently Jerry wasn't on board with that. That was a Steven thing.
Oh.
Dallas hasn't.
They haven't made any official announcement.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's why I was like, okay, this report came out, and then none of the info guys jumped on it.
Uh-huh.
All right, what is really going on there? I guess that's the story going into the weekend, because the NFL, once we get to Sunday, no, stop. No more of this. We've got to focus on the games. I think the Jacksonville thing is hilarious, because good luck to Trent Baalke finding another GM job.
No, he's done. You don't get a third chance to be a GM of an NFL team. He's lucky to get a second.
So how did this go down? Cohen, first interview? You know what? I just don't want to work with him, but thank you.
Sits down with Trent Baalke. Baalke turns him off. Cohen decides, maybe I'll go back and be an OC. But never signed to go back to be an OC. Was offered, reportedly, the most lucrative assistant coach contract in the league. Turned it down.
So it's reported that he's back in Tampa. Why are some in Tampa kind of hurt about that? Like he did a U-turn on him. No, he deserves to be a head coach. It's just kind of wonky, that negotiation kind of played out in public like that. Hey, you know what? I'm not in. What if we did this? Apparently that's what happened after we got off the air. The Jacksonville Shad Khan's people called him up like, okay, now that we made the move, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah. The one Bucks fan I know, Timmy Parmesan from my neighborhood. Happy birthday today, by the way, Timmy Parmesan.
Ooh.
Celebrating tonight. Kind of upset. that Cohen's gone.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you expect? If you have a good OC, he's going to get hired.
It's 2 years in a row now that they've lost their OC. Baker Mayfield, all he does is turn offensive coordinators into head coaches.
By the way, I think we should brace for Joe Brady and landing in New Orleans, right? Is that how we read this?
I absolutely think we should brace for it. The longer that they don't announce a head coach, they've got their eyes set on somebody, and I believe that somebody is Joe Brady. Unless Mike McCarthy goes in there and dazzles them. And that could happen. Maybe they don't want to wait. If the Bills win, you have to wait until after the Super Bowl. You're not hiring Joe Brady until February 10th at the earliest. If you want to get a jump on everything, and I mean, I think that's a crappy way to go about doing business. Like, these 2 weeks are important. We need to make sure we get our guy now.
Well, we need to fill out our staff now.
Right. Or just wait and hire the right person. But, yeah, that makes me a little bit nervous, and I have a feeling that could become a reality. So it's Cohen to the Jags. I've got more on the statement today from Jags owner Shad Khan, which I mean, the guy, I don't expect billionaires to be truthful. I mean, they're kind of part of what gets them to become billionaires is they have to lie. They're deceptive, and I don't know who he thinks he's talking to. How stupid is the fan base in Jacksonville if you believe what this guy's trying to sell you? We'll discuss that a little bit later.
How stupid. They've been doing a timeshare with their franchise overseas.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll, he'll be back with in the NFL. He's going to the Raiders, and he becomes now the third head coach to be the permanent head coach of 4 different franchises. Do you know the other 2?
Ooh, Okay, the third. Well, Parcells.
Yep.
Okay. Ooh, who is the
4 different franchises.
4 different franchises. Okay, so Parcells is one. Who is the Marty Schottenheimer?
Correct.
Oh!
Gene Battaglia.
Where Parcells has Super Bowl rings, Marty could get you to that point, and then on to the next one.
And then I thought this was interesting as well. Bobby Sloak was let go, the offensive coordinator in Houston.
Like, wait a second. This guy was getting head coaching run last year.
And interviews this year.
Yeah.
Like, he talked to some teams this year as well. Houston declined offensively. They finished 19th in points scored, 22nd in total yards this season. They were 13th and 12th in the same categories in 2023. They also moved on from Chris Strasser, who is their offensive line coach. He was with the club for 2 seasons. So an offensive overhaul ahead for C.J. Stroud. And the Texans, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing for C.J. Stroud and the Texans. You talk about these quarterbacks that are young and still learning in the NFL. Stroud, I would put in that category, even though he had a great rookie season, kind of looked mortal last year, and now you're going to throw a new OC at him.
All right, watching that game against the Chiefs last week, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy has terrible pocket awareness. It's one good thing. And like, if Josh Allen can extend plays, like, he's not going to be running into sacks the way C.J. Stroud did.
Yeah. Robert Saleh looks to be headed back to San Francisco to be their defensive coordinator as well. I think there was a report that Saleh was actually flying to Jacksonville as Cohen was accepting the job. So there was an interview planned for Robert Saleh. Saleh's going to be an angry dude next year on the defensive line.
Does he go back to being Robert Saleh circa 2020, where he's on the 49er sideline jumping all around and excited?
I think so.
Yeah, I like that version of Robert Saleh.
I agree, and I think that's what we're going to get with Robert Saleh as the DC in San Francisco next season. PJ Glasser is the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. We're going to get his picks for Championship Sunday, his favorite player props for the 2 games on Championship Sunday. We'll get some winners here. We'll make some money with PJ next on The Fan.
You're listening
update.
Bill safety Taylor Rapp has been ruled out for this game. The only other player on the injury report, Christian Benford, as he's still in the concussion protocol. He did not practice today for personal reason. Head coach Sean McDermott is confident that the backup safety, rookie Cole Bishop, will get it done.
Yeah, it's high. He's a young player, but at the same time, he's grown, right? He went through an injury in training camp, missed a lot of time. That set him back, set his growth back, delayed it at least, and then came in and he's grown through each experience. Confident he'll continue to do that moving forward.
Bills Chiefs, our pregame coverage Sunday begins at 2 o'clock, the AFC Championship game. How do you play it? PJ Glasser, your host, to Send It In on the BetQL Network, joining us next. Amherst and Providence tonight. Our coverage begins at 7. RIT men hosting Niagara. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, we give ourselves as many looks as we can throughout practice and in the film room, but also understanding that come game time, it could be completely different than what we've looked at. So just understanding our base rules, sticking to them, knowing where our problems are, and knowing our answers to those problems. And I think we've had a good week, but again, it all comes down to Sunday, and we'll probably have to make some adjustments as we go, as we do every game.
There's Josh Allen on facing Steve Spagnuolo's defense. The Chiefs and the Bills set to face off in the AFC Championship Sunday night at 6:30, and we welcome in the host of Send It In and Odyssey Sports betting insider, PJ Glasser. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ, great having you on. Sorry about your Ravens, but the Bills advance, and we're looking forward to a great championship Sunday. How say you?
Oh, yeah, guys, that was a tough one on Sunday. A great game as expected. You figure it would come down to the wire. But like I told you last week, regardless of who won between Ravens and Bills, just beat the Chiefs this week. So hopefully Buffalo can follow through on that.
Let's start with the game first off, and I don't know if any of us are going to be focused here in Western Europe to sit down and calmly watch this game, knowing what's behind it, but you do get the Commanders, you do get the Eagles. Both of these teams here, I think most of us kind of penciled in Philadelphia, but you're down in the Beltway, close to it, I guess. What's been kind of the vibe around the Commanders here, Peach?
I mean, guys, this is uncharted territory. Certainly a lot of my friends who I grew up with who are Commanders fans, obviously they haven't been to an NFC Championship game in our lifetime, and everybody loved the Jaden Daniels pick. There was so much excitement when Snyder sold the team, and Daniels was kind of the first step, right, getting that franchise quarterback. And now he's putting together probably the greatest rookie season of all time. And it's funny to see the shift, right? I think against Tampa, it was just they're excited. They're in the playoffs, and then just ecstatic they won a game. Against Detroit, it's like house money. And now, guys, they almost got everybody believing. I've heard a lot of people be like, I've kind of picked against them up to this point, but now I think they can beat Philadelphia. And I think it's just the way that Jaden's playing. It's the fact that they're picking up so much confidence, and it's a divisional game, right? We know in these divisional games, anything can happen. For me, I think the two concerns I have with Washington is there is so much familiarity, obviously. This is the third time these two teams are playing, but I think that is better for Philly. You get a team with a great defensive coordinator in Fangio, a great defense in Philly now. Detroit didn't see Daniels at all during the regular season. Tampa saw him all the way back in week 1. And at that point, you're getting a way different version of Daniels than what you saw in the wild card game. And also, guys, I think the weather could be a factor, right? Anytime we play a game at Buffalo, we always talk about how cold it is. Even though right now the forecast for Philly, they're calling for, high 30s, maybe even low 40s. It's supposed to be pretty nice out. Keep in mind, Jaden Daniels played his college ball at Arizona State, LSU, and he's played his first 2 playoff games in Tampa and in a dome in Detroit, right? So how is he going to look like taking some shots in the cold weather? What's that going to look like? And then going up against the defense that he's seen already twice this year. I think there are a couple things that work in the Eagles' favor this weekend.
Okay, well, let's break it down like this. When you evaluate this matchup, I always like to look who has the better head coach, who has the better quarterback. You could argue that right now the better quarterback is indeed Jaden Daniels. Where do you come down on the Dan Quinn versus Nick Sirianni debate?
It's a good question, Danger. I think it's probably Dan Quinn, just because he at least coaches one side of the ball. You know, Sirianni is like a Dan Campbell. He's like a John Harbaugh. You know, like they have their things that they coached, kind of making their way up to the top, but they're just kind of like a leader of men. Sirianni's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, it's no coincidence that the year the Eagles make the Super Bowl with, Jonathan Gannon and Frank Reich, and then both those guys become head coaches. And then it's kind of the same thing this year where you got Kellen Moore, who's probably going to be a head coach at some point. Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator. It's like the Eagles are almost a product of when they have good coordinators, whereas Dan Quinn, I mean, he's 60 minutes away from taking his second different team to a Super Bowl. He did it with Atlanta. So I think you got to give the edge to Quinn and how that defense has continued to get better. They've kind of just feasted off of turnovers, right? I mean, they have no problem giving up yards, but they know if they get the ball to Jaden enough times, they got to like their chances. Definitely got to give them the advantage at quarterback with Daniel, especially with Hurts being banged up. And then I think they have the edge at head coach with Dan Quinn too.
PJ, before we ask for your pick on this game, and it's Washington getting 6 on BetQL right now, the over-under at 47.5. Are there any player props that we should be looking at in this NFC Championship game?
Yeah, for sure. Guys, my favorite one's going to be Austin Eckler, over 22.5 receiving yards. He's had over 20 receiving yards in his last 3 games. He had his season high when they played at Philly in Week 11. He had 89 receiving yards. And I think the way that the game's going to break down is going to be really good for Eckler because Washington's going to be missing their top offensive lineman in Sam Cosmi. We know Philly's got a good pass rush, great corners on the outside. Quinyon Mitchell's had a terrific year. When these two teams matched up in Philly, Terry only had 1 catch for 10 yards. So I think because of the loss of the top O-lineman, the fact that the corners are so good, Daniels really isn't going to have many opportunities to take some shots down the field, guys. I think the ball's going to have to come out of his hand quick, and I think Eckler is going to be the beneficiary of that. So I like Austin Eckler over receiving yards, and I think you got to take Saquon Barkley longest rush over 21.5 yards as well. You kind of saw it last week with Derrick Henry, right, against Buffalo. Like, as great as a job as the Bills did against Derrick for a majority of the game, there's one carry, right? You're always one carry away from him just breaking one. And if it wasn't for like a DeMar Hamlin shoestring, he would have been gone for like 70 yards. We saw that with Barkley last week against the Rams. For a majority of the game, LA did a good job, and then he just breaks like 2 60-yarders on you. So both running backs I like this week, Eckler over receiving yards, Barkley longest rush.
What about the quarterback curse, PJ? It's still alive. The quarterback curse still alive. If Jalen Hurts loses on Sunday, the curse will remain that no quarterback who has lost in their debut of the Super Bowl returns to the Super Bowl during their career.
Danger, that is a good one, man. It is crazy that Goff lost, right? Because then we would have at least had one of them, but now it's just down to Hurts. Look, I like Philly in the game. I like Philly. You know, you think about, if you want to talk about all sports, right, kind of these teams that have Cinderella runs. It feels like whenever they get to the Final Four, that's when the magic runs out. We saw it with the Mets, right? Look like Team of Destiny. Get to the NLCS against the Dodgers, they lose. NC State, magical run. Get to the Final Four, they lose to Purdue. Where here we are in the Final Four now. It's one thing to win a couple games in the playoffs, but the farther you go, the tougher it is. And as I mentioned, just for a rookie quarterback and for this Washington team to face Philly 3 times, last time guys, this is the only game the Eagles have lost since week 4, was when they lost to the Commanders, right? And they turned the ball over 5 times in that game. Kenny Pickett played a majority of that game, and still they needed a Devontae Smith drop pass to win it, right? So everything that could have gone wrong for the Eagles playing on the road did, and they still should have won. Now we're laying 6 with them at home. To me, it's Philadelphia. I like a -6.
Yeah, see, Danger, something's got to give. You've never had a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl start, so like something has to give. And PJ, I'm with you on that. It just seems like it looks a little too inviting. Ooh, in a divisional game, I'll take the 6. Now, Philadelphia would. I agree with you on that. All right, here we go. Everybody, a deep breath. Buffalo and Kansas City. And PJ, before we get to that, your emotions watching the game down the stretch, Bills and Ravens, and I've been saying this all week. Say Mark Andrews catches that pass. You left $1:33 on the clock. Yeah, it would have given Josh Allen a chance for a signature moment. I just think the Bills were the better team that night, beginning to end against the Ravens. Now we have Buffalo going into Kansas City. So your thoughts on what has been a fun ride for the Buffalo Bills here in 2024?
Well, I think that's what makes this game so good on Sunday is neither of these teams beat themselves, right? I mean, that was always going to be what was going to knock out the Ravens out of the playoffs was turnovers. I mean, that's what's killed them throughout the Lamar era during the playoffs is turnovers. But when you're dealing with this version of Buffalo and obviously Kansas City, especially when they're at home, I mean, you're just not going to get a 3-turnover game out of either of these teams. So, guys, it feels like everybody pretty much has the same general consensus on this game, right? I think a lot of people feel like Buffalo's the better team. Josh Allen's playing the best ball of his entire career. It's just, do you have the stones to bet against Kansas City at home, right? Not only bet against them at home, but bet against them when you're dealing with the spread when it's essentially a pick 'em at 1.5. So a lot of people, it feels like, do. A lot of people think the Bills can go in there and win. They certainly have done that in the regular season. I'm going to roll with Kansas City until somebody could show me that they can beat the Chiefs at home with all that's on the line. It's tough for me to bet against them. You know, we've talked about this a bunch on the show, guys, when it's games like this, right? When you're dealing with a team that it's like, show me that you can beat them. And that's where I'm kind of at right now. So it's one of those games where if I were to bet Buffalo and Kansas City wins, I'd just be like kicking myself the whole time. Like, of course, Kansas City is going to find a way to win the game. So I'm rolling with the Chiefs on the money line. But I really think the best way to bet it is live. You know, like I loved when the Ravens went up 7-0 on Buffalo. I got the Bills at plus 3.5 before they even touched the ball, and I love that bet, right? And then at halftime, you could have gotten the Ravens at plus 7.5. So this game very easily could be like the same kind of thing. If you can get any of these teams at key numbers, 3.5, 7.5, to me, that's really how you bet it. But if I had to take the game straight up, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
All right, Peach is about to go 0-2 this week. But you know what? Your player props are going to save us all and make us some money. So what about player props in the Bills and Chiefs, PJ?
Fellas, got to take Josh Allen over 9.5 rushing attempts. He's gone for double-digit rushing attempts against the Chiefs in his last 6 games. He had his season-high rushing attempts at 12 against the Chiefs back in Week 11, and I feel like you guys know it and a lot of your listeners know it. Whenever the Bills play the Chiefs, Josh just loves to run, right? These are the games when he turns into Superman. He'll do whatever it takes, and he's such a machine in short yardage that you're going to get at least 4 or 5 of those QB sneaks. Then you're going to get some design runs on top of that, and then when the play breaks down, he's going to scramble too. So, look, the Bills are 60 minutes away from the Super Bowl. Josh has to do whatever it takes to win. He knows it. The Bills know it. They got to run him 15 times. They'll do it. So I think over 9.5 rush attempts, I love that look this week for Josh Allen and for the Bills.
Yeah, so just so we're clear, PJ, like 3 kneel downs at the end of the game, they count as rushing attempts?
Right. They do. That is correct.
All right, then I like that too.
There you go. There you go. I mean, guys, he had 10 rushing attempts against Baltimore, and I even had to double check that because it didn't feel like he really ran all that much, right? I mean, he obviously had the 2 rushing touchdowns. He had some sneaks, but looking at the box score at the end of the game, I'm like, man, Allen had 10 rushing attempts. So he loves to run against the Chiefs. I think he's going to go over that number.
Yeah. Can I ask about the player props on the Kansas City side? Because yesterday we had Alex Gold, who you know him from the BetQL Network, and he does a daily show out there in Kansas City. And he expects a little more Kareem Hunt than Isaiah Pacheco. And I'm looking at the Kareem Hunt numbers, and actually they're higher than Pacheco. Is there any, if we want to kind of do it that way too, is there any value in the player props on the Kansas City side?
I'm with Alex. I like Hunt more so than Pacheco. It just doesn't feel like Pacheco's right, guys. You know, he had that injury, and they've tried to work him back, and he's been so good for him in their Super Bowl run the last couple of years. But I'm with Alex. I think Hunt's the guy. If you're to go between the 2 running backs, I think it would be Kareem Hunt. As for some other props, Look, I like Josh Allen over rushing attempts for the Bills. I like Pat Mahomes over rushing yards for the Chiefs, over 26.5. It's the same kind of handicap. Like in this game, guys, when these two teams go up against each other, I think both Josh and Pat know these games. I mean, it really just comes down to a few plays, and this is the kind of game where if you got to run just to get 2 or 3 yards to keep yourself at 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 8 rather than throw the ball away, you got to do it. So I like Pat Mahomes over rushing yards too. And then, anytime touchdown look, I think for Kelsey, like just getting that at plus money, I think is a good bet. I'm more so like props in the Chiefs or in the Commanders-Eagles game. I think Bills-Chiefs, it's so tough just because how balanced the Bills are on offense. And because on Kansas City, like outside of Worthy and Kelsey, you have no idea who's going to step up for them.
PJ, what are you going to do to enjoy Championship Sunday? You got a plan mapped out? Or are you on the air on Championship Sunday?
Yeah, I am. I got my show from 1 to 5 Eastern time. We'll be doing inside the betting lines from our DC studio. So we'll be watching the first half of Commanders-Eagles, and then I'll probably stay to the end of that game and then try and rush home to get on my couch for the start of Bills and Chiefs. So it's I'll be working for half the day, and then I'll be coming home and enjoying the game like everybody else. How about you guys? You just enjoying the game at home?
Oh, I'm out. We got an appearance on Sunday night.
I'll be in my brother-in-law's basement. We're making meals based on every team's cuisine. So I'm making Kansas City ribs on the smoker. We got buffalo wings, Philly cheesesteaks, and we were trying to figure out maybe you can help us. What is Washington's signature dish? We heard something about like a specific kind of chili, and I know we can't serve lies, which normally gets served up in Washington, D.C.
I don't know. That's a good question. They don't really – I mean, obviously in Baltimore, right, it's like crabs.
Yeah.
Crab cakes and Old Bay and that kind of stuff.
Natty
D.C., I couldn't tell you. Yeah, nothing really.
We're gonna go with bacon anything for the Hogs. That's our tribute to the Washington Commanders.
I like it. That works. Well, good luck to you guys on Sunday, man. Even though I'm betting the Chiefs. See, the way I look at it, guys, it's a win-win, right? I bet the Chiefs, they win, I make money.
This is an emotional hedge.
This
is an emotional hedge.
It absolutely is. It absolutely. Do you think a lot of people in Buffalo will be doing that?
We were just talking about that before we went on. Somebody just mentioned that to me today. Like, hey, I'm putting $100 in Kansas City. Like, why? Well, I win either way. Like, what? No, I don't. PJ, I'm of the opinion that hedgers are losers. You're going to lose either way.
If you see, the way I would do it is what I was just talking about. Like when the Ravens went up 7-0, you hedge Buffalo plus 3.5. That way your team can still win and cover. I think if people out there want to emotionally hedge, just the Bills start fat. And I know they've been down 7-0 in both playoff games, but maybe they get the ball first, go down the field, get up, and then people will have a chance if they want to hedge. But Gene, I'm with you, man. Like, just root for your squad, and hopefully they can pull it out, fellas. I hope for your sake they do.
Well, PJ, it's great having you on with us on a Friday. We're looking forward to one of the best days on the sports calendar, and hope you have the chance to enjoy it as well. Let's catch up next week.
Absolutely, guys. Good luck to you. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, PJ.
There's PJ Glasser, host of Send It In on the Odyssey in the Odyssey Sports Betting Insider. You can check out Send It In the Odyssey app and look up BetQL on YouTube as well. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Yes, I will be out at the tap room at Bill Gray's. So Kimmy Coffee, who you're here as part of the break room, and they're going to have a lot of fun out there and just chow down. Make it simple. Have somebody else do the cooking for me.
There's probably going to be a mob scene there. Unbelievable crowd.
Look, anywhere you're going to go out this week, but that will be the place to be if you want to just kind of hang with me, and we'll just kind of give the running commentary of the game.
We got some more coming up next before we get to Carl Jones here in the 4 o'clock hour from WIVB TV in Buffalo, including statement made by Jaguars owner Shad Khan, who must believe that the entire fan base of the Jacksonville Jaguars are idiots.
Wait,
who does
you
he
mean
think he's talking?
NFL billionaire owner talking down to his customers? You're
That's
kidding.
correct. Yes.
Oh,
I know that never happens.
Coming up at 11 tonight. Also, Danger, it's funny that you bring this out. You are, and a lot of people are just looking right past Philadelphia. Like honestly, like if you had to say which is the most interesting team here, And you would put the Chiefs ahead because they're going for a three-peat and everything surrounding Kansas City. It's like, we are not even talking for Philadelphia. I think there's a reason for that. And maybe when I give you this reason, maybe it'll sway your opinion on which way to play that game, because I think there's a lot of emotion going the other way.
866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool and join us in the sports bar. 585-866-4326.
Bills, and The Fan Rochester at home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Yeah, I mean, they make it about the team, and I appreciate that. Don't take it for granted whatsoever. And it is a maturation for some, and in some to some extent for others where they're at in their careers of, hey, I haven't been able to get to this spot, or I know, the days are winding down a little bit, or the years are winding down, and just saying, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to make it about the team, and that's so important.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott, a mature Buffalo Bills team going into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs championship Sunday. We welcome you back into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. We're just over a half hour away from Carl Jones from WIVB-TV in Buffalo. Help us preview this matchup here, the AFC Championship, Gino.
Yeah, just random thought here is I saw Ron Rivera was interviewing. Where did he interview this week? Or he was on somebody's list?
I want to say... Well, I know he interviewed with the Bears. Did he interview with Dallas as well?
I guess it means he's free, right?
Oh, he's free.
If you're Sean McDermott and it ends up being Bills Connect, bring him in. I would think Ron Rivera would be a perfect hired gun next week. You can do that just as some sort of consultant. Like, against for the personnel on the other side.
Could you just make a phone call? Just be like, hey, man.
Well, at the very least, yeah.
At the very least. Hey, what can you share? Anything?
Because I was thinking, like, Sean McDermott, okay, he's been to the Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator, working for Ron Rivera.
That's right.
And actually, they did a pretty good job. That's not the reason why Carolina lost that game, for sure. Well, it kind of goes with my take here. What has been the talk nationally this week? It's been Bills Chiefs and everything surrounding that, and it's been Jaden Daniels for good reason. Is it me, or do the Philadelphia Eagles feel like the forgotten team here? I think there's a reason for that, Danger. If we did let's rank the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts is coming in fourth. Now, if you did the head coaches, look, Nick Sirianni could get to his second Super Bowl, but many of us still view him as Section 5 Sirianni.
Right.
It would be a big ask here for Washington to go in there. 2018, last time two road teams won on the same Sunday. That was the Patriots winning at Arrowhead, the Rams winning in New Orleans.
I think it's going to happen again. I think it's going to happen again. I'm worried about Hurts. I think his play has been so kind of inconsistent. Plus, on top of it, he's not healthy. I think you've got a little bit more going for Washington here. I know the defense is suspect, but can you stop Saquon Barkley? Can you key on Barkley and try to let Hurts beat you? If you're Dan Quinn, he's got to like his chances. Now, you're right. The last time Washington beat Philadelphia, it wasn't Jalen Hurts. It was Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett had himself a game. He played well that game. The defense of Washington, I think, is the thing that makes most Commanders fans nervous. But we saw them, like anything, I hate to be cliche, but it's going to come down to takeaways, turnovers. Who's turning the ball over? And Philly doesn't do a lot of that. But Jalen Hurts could be subject to a fumble during a scramble or an errant pass.
Sure. And so could why is it then, Danger? We've never had the rookie quarterback. Is it the fact that these quarterbacks previously didn't come in ready to go? Is it the rule changes? Like, why haven't we had a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl?
Well, I do think that the rules, anybody, I think Brady talks about this more than anybody. The rules are obviously skewed for the quarterback to be protected at all times, and it puts the defense at a disadvantage no matter what, however you want to think about it. So the quarterback it's a quarterback-driven league, and successful quarterbacks drive the success of that team more so than anything, even turnovers. Why Jaden Daniels? Because I think Jaden Daniels is the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. He's having the best season by a rookie quarterback that we've ever seen. He's special. I don't know that
in terms of playoff wins, sure, but like Michael Vick was phenomenal his rookie year. But that was not a good team, mind you.
Sure.
Maybe that's also part of it too. That generally speaking, quarterbacks that are this good get taken at the top of the draft because the team's not good. You got to wait for the rest of the team to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of noteworthy. Like, yeah, one of these things is going to break here. Is it the rookie quarterback thing, or is it the, as you call it, the Four Falls of Buffalo?
The curse. Yeah, the curse of Jim Kelly, the Four Falls of Buffalo, where a quarterback who debuts in the Super Bowl and loses, never makes it back to the Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts falls under that category. The curse. The 4 falls of Buffalo.
But see,
curse.
I think you'd got to win the Super Bowl. If he loses another one, it's like, all right,
Well, even if he makes it, that would be that's never happened since the 90s, since the early 90s, since the 4 falls of Buffalo. I'm so fascinated to see how that plays out. Can we go back to Jacksonville for a second? I've been mentioning that Shad Khan, not like billionaires are honest 100% of the time, but he must really think we're stupid. Did you read his statement after they hired Liam Cohen?
I try not to read these ones, so I let you do this for me. What do you got?
To repeat my message earlier this week.
Oh, timeout. I always hate, like I said previously.
Yeah, let me emphatically tell you the same thing I told you earlier. I am deeply committed to building a winner here in Jacksonville. I also believe in being judged by actions, not words. That's why I took swift and decisive action this week to hire Liam Cohen as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Swift and decisive from a man who waited to fire his GM 2.5 weeks after he fired his head coach, who lost better head coaching candidates by keeping Trent Baalke around, and who scrambled around like Trevor Lawrence facing a blitz to fire Baalke only after Cohen pulled himself out of the running to stay in Tampa as the OC. I mean, we're going to see what kind of a head coach Liam Cohen is, but, man, we know exactly what kind of a leader and owner Shad Khan is.
Swift and decisive. Liam Cohen, GM killer. I only take that if he's gone. Okay, well, now what do you say?
Right. Okay, fine, I guess.
Good luck to him, I would say, but the way I kind of view Trevor Lawrence, is it really going to get any better down there? Is it? I know you're in this division where, supposedly you could, scratch out 9 or 10 wins if you're lucky, but
Trent Baalke, porcelain punisher. Liam Cohen, head coach. I mean, it almost is. It's like if you're Liam Cohen, like I really wish you wouldn't do that because I'm just a first-time head coach, and I'm coming in here and I'm going to try and get you wins, but you're pumping me up like I'm, the second coming of Bill Belichick here in Jacksonville. I'm a first-time head coach, pal. Swift and decisive action. This is important. This is that important. This is the guy that everybody in Jacksonville, the fans in Jacksonville wanted. The guy that they're excited about. Liam Cohen?
They went that route earlier with Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Urban Meyer. That felt like a Rex Ryan. We wanted to be
Doug
relevant.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Like both of these guys, neither of them worked. Why? I mean, Urban Meyer because he's Urban Meyer, but hey, Peterson, from all we understand, is a pretty respected football guy. Won a Super Bowl after all. Dysfunctional organization and dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. Let me fire my GM 2.5 weeks after I fire my head coach, only to get this guy who's never been a head coach, and then now let me double down and try to get the fan base even more excited about a guy who's never been a head coach.
Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. One season with the Jets. Kind of like Belichick, who's the other guy that's been a head coach for 4 different teams, right?
And Schottenheimer.
I'm sorry. Yes, Schottenheimer. I said Belichick. I didn't mean Belichick. I meant
Parcells. Yeah.
Parcells and Schottenheimer. That's the other bit of coaching news today. We have not yet heard from Dallas. Nothing official on Brian Schottenheimer.
Okay, so why is that? Maybe it is Brian Schottenheimer. Here's my theory. Would Jerry just hold on to this to win Sunday morning? I'm gonna leak this Saturday night. The deal is done.
Yeah, you give Jay Glazer a treat there Sunday morning so that
or is there back channeling to North Carolina?
Here we go.
No, here we go. Like, what is it? What are the reasons?
Let it go, man. It ain't happening. He ain't going to Dallas. Come on.
If that happens, I'm going over to your house this weekend to collect. I'm not even going to wait till Monday. I'm going to pay up.
We're going to take a break. Gino has lost his mind. He's delusional. He still believes that Bill Belichick is going to coach in the NFL this season. We've got Carl Jones joining us here at 425. And we'll learn more about this Bills secondary with Taylor Rapp out. What kind of defense do you believe Sean McDermott deploys against Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City offense? Carl Jones, WIVB-TV in Buffalo, joining us here in about 20 minutes on The Fan.
Your Bills Mafia Sports Station, 95. And in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
Let's go, Bills!
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
One player is ruled out for the Buffalo Bills at safety, Taylor Rapp. It'll be Cole Bishop in his place. Questionable for this game is Christian Benford, the corner. Deion Dawkins, certainly familiar with the Chiefs' defense.
You have to be aware of the moving parts. There's so many moving parts, and they have so many skilled players that you just have to have your head up. You have to know what call is being called, and whatever call is being called, you have to execute it with the communication of where we're going. Don't overthink it. We are here, they're there. Block who you're supposed to block.
Bills Chiefs, our pregame coverage begins at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Carl Jones, WIVB, joining us later this hour. Amerks and Providence tonight. Our coverage will begin at 7 here on The Fan. RIT Hockey back home for the first time in the regular season since December 7th. Tigers host Niagara. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
This is Conference Championship weekend. The stakes couldn't be any higher.
It all comes down to this. In the AFC Championship, a trip to New Orleans is on the line.
Bills, Chiefs, 6:30 Sunday night.
I think it's about execution this time of year and who's able to execute, play after plays.
If we play our game, we got a shot to win at the end, and we always have Josh Allen.
Mike Danger.
We're going to be on the edge of our seat, even if you have a 2-score lead and it's the fourth quarter. You know who the opponent is. You know how this works, and you can only breathe that sigh of relief when the clock hits 000.
Yeah.
The Bills have become the Chiefs.
I'm going 30-21 Bills.
Gene Battaglia.
I was thinking about the movie Miracle. You hear the Herb Brooks speech saying, this is our time. Their time is done. That's how I feel about this.
Let's go, Bills!
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Well, we spent a lot of this afternoon talking about Cole Bishop getting a chance to start in place of Taylor Rapp, who has been declared out for Sunday's championship game. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, there are no injury designations for Sunday's AFC championship against the Bills.
Again, the benefit of having the 1 seed, just like, yes, you get a divisional game against Houston, and then you're in the AFC championship game. And my gosh, they've played one meaningful football game since Christmas Day, that being last week, Kansas City. Yeah, that's why they're healthy.
They are healthy and ready to host. Both Gino and I made our predictions earlier. I have the Bills winning 30-21.
I have the Bills winning 27-17. Apparently, there are people already going into Kansas City. Alex Brasky is arriving. I keep getting these tweets, these texts from Jay Binkley. Apparently, there is a Bills bar called Al's, and they're having a mafia gathering. And Matt Beauvais, who does the co-host with Sal there on the Always Game Day in Buffalo, they're going to be there. Jay is showing up. I'm like, wow. I would just love to take like a 3-4 day weekend and just go hang. And my question to you, Danger, is this. Arrowhead, it feels like a trip I want to make at some point. Where would you rank that as far as destinations for you? You've been to Chicago. Mm-hmm. You've never been to Lambeau. Lambeau, to me, is at the top.
Lambeau's at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to see a game at Lambeau at some point, right? And I think Arrowhead is right there as well. There's a big part of me that wants to see the Palaces, the new stadium, right? Like I want to see SoFi. You got to go to Jerry World just to take it all in, right? The giant scoreboard, the giant screen.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Raider football is like in Vegas these days. That would be fun.
I mean, all these big games that get played in Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, that marvel of engineering. I need to, man, if we had the time, the resources to just do a tour of all the NFL stadiums, yeah, I would be down for that. More so, I think, than baseball. See, baseball stadiums, I think, would be fun as well. But I think just being more of a football guy, I would.
It depends on the sport because that's a pride thing for baseball people. I've been to 20 parks, and here's the one I'm going to go to this year. And each one, the football field is the same wherever you go. Baseball, that's one of the things that makes it different. You have different dimensions and different heights on the wall and different cuisine. Arrowhead has got to be top 5. It really does.
I think so.
Many of us have been to Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Those places where you got to drive. But anybody who's going out there and you want to join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you with your predictions for this weekend's action. Championship Sunday coming up. Carl Jones coming up. WIVB TV in Buffalo, making his inaugural visit into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Love Carl's take on Championship Sunday. Note Carl has a little bit of football in his background as well, playing in Syracuse. And of course, the thing that we're kind of key on going into this game, the play of Cole Bishop, knowing that he's going to get the start in place of the injured Taylor Rapp.
So if the Bills keep winning, then we're going to have to book every Friday former players from Syracuse. It was it's our guy Adam Terry, who played for the Ravens. He came out the Three Heads last Friday. He was fantastic and very insightful. And I think when players get out of the game, they can kind of let you in a little bit more. And certainly Carl does this for a living, so I'm just kind of curious. The talk here really is, what would make you nervous? Having a rookie start alongside DeMar Hamlin. You knew this was going to happen. The Bills were playing this, as they should. Well, we'll take it. We'll see.
Are you less nervous knowing that he's had Micah Hyde kind of mentoring and tutoring him through practice here for the last few weeks?
No, and here's why. It's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. You can do all that. You can simulate it. I would think Patrick Mahomes could look off a Cole Bishop if need be. Who is getting that responsibility also of covering Travis Kelce? Look, the Bills are not going to go all Houston Texan and leave him wide open, but my gosh.
They did last year in the divisional round. Blown coverage.
There was a blown coverage, right, but they didn't have Christian Benford. They had A.J. Klein in there. They had other issues there. Well, I would love to know more of how involved Hyde was directly with Cole Bishop.
Well, we talked a lot last week about the Bills that were missing from that Week 4 loss to the Ravens. We don't spend a lot of time talking about who is missing from the Week 11 win over the Chiefs. Dalton Kincaid didn't play in that game. And the Chiefs are poor when teams target their tight end defensively. Keon Coleman missed Week 11. He wasn't. Remember, he had the wrist injury. Mm-hmm. He wasn't in that game Week 11 as well. And Matt Milano was also missing Week 11. We saw how impactful Milano's game was against Baltimore, and I kind of expect that we'd see more of that here against Kansas City. It's not like it's his first time playing against the Chiefs. It's not like it's Von Miller's first time playing against Patrick Mahomes. I kind of like that they're playing what looks to be some of their best ball of a shortened season. They're not 100%. We know Milano missed some practice time this week with hamstring. Was it hamstring or groin? Soft tissue.
It was a sore calf.
Okay.
Oh, no, hamstring too on top of that. So somebody pointing out that he got kicked in the calf, but then the Bills listing it as a hamstring.
Dorian Williams has been fine too. I could see him getting out there and getting reps covering tight ends for the Chiefs as well. I just think they've got way too much going for them right now. There's a calm confidence to how they're handling their business, almost as if to say, hey, if we do lose, congratulations, you're a great team, you deserve it, but we're not going to let that happen.
Well, they should have a quiet confidence. They beat them earlier this year.
They're not afraid of
Kansas
City at this point.
It gets to a point where what? You're afraid of losing? We've been down this road. Few times to Kansas City on the road in the postseason. Yeah, this would be loss number 4 to Kansas City in the postseason. Loss number 3 at Arrowhead. Nobody's afraid. Well, how worse could it get?
Josh Allen's not afraid to lose.
Playing free, not fearing the consequences of messing up. And again, it goes back to making sure that, if we feel like we're prepared and we've given ourselves everything that we can throughout the week of preparation, we're on Sunday, let it loose and go from there.
Well, the thing that Josh Allen and the rest of the offense has done well here, Danger, in these 2 playoff games, they haven't made mistakes. Sure, there have been some plays that haven't been executed. We can pick a few here, but I'm talking about the turnovers. I'm talking about big penalties. I'm talking, not counting the one against Deion Dawkins that shouldn't have been. How will this Bills team react, whether it's this game or, dare I say, in the Super Bowl, when a mistake does happen? I think they'll be fine. Heck, they started out in a 7-0 hole the last 2 games. You didn't see any panic.
This came to me from Break Room MD on X. 1991 Michael Jordan versus 2024 Josh Allen entering the conference title game. I love this parallel. I mean, it's not the same sport, so it's really not apples to apples, but it's season number 7 for both players. They have 0 franchise titles. Your win-loss versus the opponent in the playoffs is 0-3, and the opponent is seeking a three-peat, meaning the Pistons versus the Chiefs. There are a lot of parallels there. The stars are aligning. Are the stars aligning for the Buffalo Bills, Gina?
Brian writing in, why is this year going to be any different? The Chiefs will tear their heart out and show it to them. And, showing like the Snoopy.
He's a Bronco fan, right?
Yeah, so why, Brian, a Bronco fan?
Rooting for the Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Shameful.
Dude, yeah,
shameful,
disgusting.
Shameful, disgusting behavior. What kind of a fan are you, Brian?
Not a good Bronco fan if you're rooting for the Chiefs. Yeah, give me a break there, bud.
Matt Pataglia, I don't know if that's somebody related to you, Gino.
No.
Matt wanted to know, no Binkley this week, and no way am I asking for him. Just shocked he hasn't called in. Matt, we did have Binkley on Wednesday, and if you missed that conversation, get it wherever you get your podcast. Just search out the Sports Bar. That includes the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY.
Yeah, Binkley, texted me today. It's like he's trying to stir the pot. He's like, people are starting to call it Allenhead, like how they were calling it Burrowhead. I'm like, who? Who is calling it Allenhead?
Yeah.
Tell me who. Schlereth. What does Mark Schlereth have to do with Western New York? No Bills player is taking any bait whatsoever.
I want to know who keeps disrespecting the Kansas City Chiefs. Who keeps disrespecting the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions? Why are they so soft? Nobody is disrespecting them. Everybody recognizes what they've accomplished and what they can accomplish if they win on Sunday. Stop.
It just feels like Chiefs fans are used to kind of getting that energy off of the Bengals, let's say, run their mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of like this approach.
None of us are taking that bait.
No, we're not going to take the bait. Brad in Rochester joining us, 866-4FAN.
Hey, isn't Allen kind of like Peyton Manning, where it took him 8 years to get to where he needed to go, and he had to go through a Hall of Fame quarterback in order to do it in Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, what I said earlier this week, Brad, is I believe that we're in the middle of Brady, Manning, the next generation. It's Mahomes and Allen. These guys are familiar.
And I also can say that probably the biggest or most valuable player on the field on Sunday is going to be James Cook. And if he can get going and we can control the clock and do those 12-play drives and just take it right down their throat.
James Cook needs to be the best running back on the field.
Oh, without question. Brad, thanks for the call.
You look at who they have in their backfield and who we have in their backfield, and James Cook, on paper, should be viewed as the best running back in this game. He needs to be the best running back on the field on Sunday.
The idea that Kareem Hunt is playing better than Isaiah Pacheco right now in Kansas City.
I mean, you could say a healthy Pacheco versus James Cook. How does that look side by side? And I'd say it's pretty close. It might be too close to call, but I don't think Pacheco is right. He hasn't been right.
No, you look at the props right now. It all has Kareem Hunt getting more yards and everything else there. I love that take about the Bills running game. Can you win or should you win and just kind of go in that same blueprint that you get against Baltimore? Why
Physical.
not?
Let the guys up front push them around.
Why not? We don't need style points in this game.
That's right.
You don't.
That's right.
And if the Chiefs make a mistake, that's their problem.
This is exactly what Sean McDermott has wanted all along, a team that can go into a game and out-physical their opponent. And he's got an offensive line that's been doing it now for 2 seasons with rarely any time missed from any of those guys. And they have just been mauling. Let him go. Let him keep going. I don't know that you need to get away from it. Now, that said, I don't know that James Cook is having a 100-yard rushing game against the Chiefs. I'd love it if he broke one. That would be fantastic. We would all love it, obviously. But the way they divide it up, the way they are a 3-headed monster back there, we need Cook to break 1 or 2, get around the edge and get a couple of big chunk plays. But he needs to look like the best running back in the game. I don't think that's asking too much. James Cook needs to be the best running back on the field on Sunday.
Carl Jones, WIVB, will be joining us next here. We'll get his thoughts on Cole Bishop and some of the other issues surrounding the Buffalo Bills here on a Friday.
Stay in the sports bar. Thanks for listening. The Fan Rochester.
Your home for the Buffalo. update.
Bill safety Taylor Rapp has been ruled out for this Sunday's game. It's going to be Cole Bishop in his place. Head coach Sean McDermott has confidence in the rookie.
Yeah, it's high. He's a young player, but at the same time, he's grown, right? He went through an injury in training camp, missed a lot of time. That set him back, set his growth back, delayed it at least, and then came in and he's grown through each experience. Confident he'll continue to do that moving forward.
Questionable for this game, Christian Benford, as he remains in the concussion protocol. Bills Chiefs, our pregame coverage Sunday begins at 2 o'clock. We'll talk to Carl Jones, WIVB, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Amherst in New England this weekend for Stop Providence. 7 o'clock tonight, our coverage on the Fan. RIT hockey back home tonight, taking on Niagara. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, we give ourselves as many looks as we can throughout practice and in the film room, but also understanding that come game time, it could be completely different than what we've looked at. So just understanding our base rules, sticking to them, knowing where our problems are, and knowing our answers to those problems. And I think we've had a good week, but again, it all comes down to Sunday, and we'll probably have to make some adjustments as we go, as we do every game.
There's Josh Allen on Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Bills Chiefs coming up Sunday night, 6:30. We welcome in for the first time into the Sports Bar, Carl Jones, WIVB-TV in Buffalo. Carl, welcome in. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. And I think the thing I'm most curious about, and the thing I would like to learn from you, is you're familiar with the defensive secondary, or the defensive backfield of the Buffalo Bills, knowing that Bishop is going to get the start here, that the rookie is going to get his chance in place of Taylor Rapp. How different is that going to look for Patrick Mahomes? How will the Chiefs be able to exploit that? We saw Bishop make the mistake, the critical mistake, back in week 5 against the Texans. Your thoughts on what you've seen from the rookie in the limited time that we've seen him on the field this year?
Well, first off, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. In terms of Cole Bishop, I think he's grown a lot. He's always been a player who's shown the physical skill set to be a productive safety in the NFL. He's a big, rangy guy, can thump players as well. I think the game has probably slowed down a bit for him, and you saw that in that game in the Week 18 game, where he got a bunch of reps with Taylor Rapp resting in that game. And he's a guy who will probably, at his best, spend most of his time near the line of scrimmage, robbing routes over the middle. Maybe that involves guarding some Travis Kelce, some of the more underneath stuff. So I think that's where he'll be best utilized. In terms of the Chiefs picking on him, I'm sure Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to figure out ways to just pick on just about anybody out there on the field. That's the type of confidence that I imagine they have in themselves. But the Bills don't ask a lot of their safeties in terms of man coverage and tough assignments. It just hasn't been that way since the prime Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde days. So will there be situations for him where he's going to have to come up and make a play? For sure, but it won't be a down-in and down-out basis.
We've seen the Bills play more man defense on the back end there. So I'm just curious to get, maybe it's a mixture here, but what would you think would be the best approach going against a quarterback and a team you're very familiar with?
Yeah, it's unique in how they should probably approach this. This isn't the basketball and grass Chiefs where they're going up and down the field with a Sammy Watkins and a Tyreek Hill. They're more methodical now, similar to how the Buffalo Bills operate. And then when you want to play man coverage, which they did a bunch of in their November matchup, I think you will probably prefer DeMar Hamlin to be the deep safety because he's the guy who has a little bit more experience in that role as opposed to Cole Bishop, who is obviously still a rookie. But I think you should feel confident in your matchups if you're the Bills. Christian Benford, there's not anyone on the other side that he should be fearful of. Rasul Douglas should win the matchup, whether that's a DeAndre Hopkins. And then as well as whether it's Taron Johnson, Cam Lewis coming in on third down situations. The Bills should feel comfortable in those man coverage looks. Now, obviously, once again, Andy Reid is one of the best ever in terms of getting his guys open and scheming things up. So I'm sure they'll have an answer for it. But when the Bills do play man coverage, I think on paper the matchups definitely favor their side.
Carl Jones, WIVB-TV in Buffalo, our guest in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. When these teams met in Week 11, Carl, Matt Milano was not on the field for the Buffalo Bills. We saw how impactful he was through a series of plays against the Ravens just last week. We know he's a little dinged up, but we looks good in practice. You could tell us a little bit about what you saw this week in Orchard Park. What role do you think Milano has in this Bills defense? Is he strictly going to be spying Mahomes? Do you see him kind of staying with Kelsey a little bit? How do you think McDermott deploys his linebackers here?
Yeah, we've got a good look at him on Thursday. He did most of the drills. There was one drill that he was held out of, but I don't think it was anything alarming or anything to say he won't play because obviously he was off the injury report today and he's full go. In terms of his deployment on Sunday, I think it'll be a mixed bag of everything. He'll definitely have those reps where he is spying Patrick Mahomes like he did Bo Nix as well as Lamar Jackson. And there'll be some reps where maybe he's the guy who's underneath Travis Kelce in some of those more zone looks. I don't think the Bills are going to give Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes the same look on every play. There's going to be a mixed bag. Those guys are too great, too smart to just keep giving them the same test. Those guys are going to figure out the answers in that regard. So I think they're going to figure out ways to deploy him. And then they have taken Matt Milano off the field in certain third down looks where they will bring in Jamarcus Ingram and Cam Lewis and take him and a defensive tackle off. So I don't think it'll be a one size like, hey, it's this down in distance, Matt Milano's going to play this. I think the Chiefs are too smart for that. And Sean McDermott and Bobby Baptist have shown ways that they can use him in a way that can benefit the defense.
Carl, you watching that Chiefs-Texans game, and granted, Houston's got some talent on that defensive line. They were getting after it. And I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts here on the Bills' pass rush? Can the Bills just do this with 4, or might we see some blitzes here? It just seems that maybe the Chiefs' offensive line might be a place where they might be a little vulnerable here.
Yeah, that November matchup, they got after him. Greg Rousseau lived in the backfield. I think he pitched. I think his area code, zip code, all that good stuff is. The Chiefs are very familiar of 5-0 at that point, right? But the Chiefs have made some adjustments. Wanya Morris wasn't even active last week against the Houston Texans. He was the left tackle for the Chiefs in that November game. They moved out their all-pro left guard out to left tackle, therefore putting a backup at left guard. It's kind of tough comparing the Bills front to the Texans because the Texans just quite frankly have a much better front with Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson coming off the edge. But I think the Bills have some places where they can win as well, and I think the spot to look at is that left guard spot where there is a backup guard in the game there. So look for a Daquan Jones or Ed Oliver or maybe someone who's blitzing off that gap in between the left and the left tackle and left guard. I think that's the spot that you want to look at. Because, like you just mentioned, the Texans got after him a little bit, and Patrick Mahomes wasn't as comfortable in that game as he was maybe the rest of December since they made that adjustment, putting Joe Thuney out at left tackle. So I think you don't prefer blitzing Patrick Mahomes. You prefer to win with 4. There may be an opportunity where the Bills pick on that left guard spot and say, this is our opportunity to get it done.
It's so awesome, Carl. It's championship caliber football. We're talking about the trenches. We're talking about the big guys up front. And, man, when I think about the Bills' offensive line, not just this season, but last season as well, the continuity, the way they've been able to kind of shift this season, moving McGovern in place of Morse, and for them to not even miss a beat, and, in fact, to sometimes look better. I mean, the offense, maybe statistically not a better year for Josh Allen, but, man, he looks comfortable, and they are mauling. I guess there's a long way of me saying, is this offensive line matching up well against Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and everybody that Kansas City's going to throw at the Bills' offense? And how can James Cook have a James Cook? How can James Cook look like the best running back on the field come Sunday?
Man, I'm so glad that group is getting their love and their flowers because that is one of the best units in football, full stop. There's no caveats to that. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. They have probably, at worst, the second-best tackle duo in football with Spencer Brown on one side and Deion Dawkins on the other. And then you just mentioned the interior has progressed so well this year when you were scared that maybe there was a hole there with Mitch Morse leaving. They play the game on their terms, and that is just so fun to watch. I played corner at Syracuse, so I didn't really like those dudes up front, quite frankly. They was nasty, and I ain't like when they put their paws on me. But now I can appreciate it because they're not getting their hands on me anymore. And now that I'm on the outside and I don't have to worry about a big 330-pound dude bullying me, I can appreciate what they got going on. And you see when they were up against a Broncos front, that was a little smaller, right? Those guys were more finesse. How are they going to combat that? Well, they just bullied them. They just ran right at them. The Ravens were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They were a much bigger group. Didn't matter. The Bills ran right at them, especially in that first half last week. The Chiefs have some guys. They have the best defensive player in the sport up front in Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu didn't play in that first matchup. He's a good player as well. But if you're the Bills, they didn't have Spencer Brown either. And no disrespect to the backup right tackle Ryan Vandermark in that game, but Spencer Brown is an elite player at this point in his career. So if you're the Bills, you feel very comfortable in your matchup. Yeah, you got some good name recognition over there, and our guys maybe don't have AP next to theirs, but they can bark back and they can go toe-to-toe with anyone.
It's so ironic to me, Carl, that when the Bills beat Baltimore, for kind of also in Denver, they look like the Chiefs to me. They're just going to matriculate their way down the field, and it doesn't have to be big, flashy Josh Allen passes. Do you think that's kind of the way? Because I was just kind of shocked how little they used the arm of Josh Allen that went over Baltimore.
Yeah, it's funny because there's been situations this year where they've relied on Josh more often than they have in other situations where he pulls out the Superman cape and he doesn't take out any civilians in the process. A few years ago, he put on the cape and a couple of civilians were dying, a couple of interceptions, turnovers, whatever the case may be. I mean, you think of the first Chiefs matchup, the running game wasn't going well, yet he figured out a way to get things done, and that was good to see. You think about some of those other matchups where, hey, can't get it done on the ground. Josh, can you come save us? And they did it. I don't know how it'll turn out. I think that the Chiefs will do their best to kind of sell out to stop the run, just like every team has tried. Because if you're the Chiefs in this matchup, you do have one of your starting cornerbacks back in Jalen Watson. In the first matchup, he wasn't available with a broken ankle. So if I had to guess, and Steve Spagnuolo is the Hall of Fame defensive coordinator for a reason, if I had to guess, they're going to put more onus on those guys one-on-one on the opportunities out there to say, hey, you guys got to win because we're going to commit more resources to the box to slow them down. And that's where some of that guys on the outside, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Amari Cooper, it's going to be on them if the game goes that way.
Myopic Bills fans might just say to themselves, why should this be any different? Why would this year be any different? We know how this is going to go. They're going into Kansas City. Mahomes is going to rip out their heart the way he always does, or McDermott is going to blow it. Now, I want to push back a little bit on the McDermott piece there, Carl, and get your perspective on how McDermott has evolved and what you've seen out of him from season to season here with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to speak from a defensive perspective because, like I mentioned earlier, as a defensive back myself, I view the game from that lens, and I think he's been more versatile than ever. I think that when you go back to those 2020 and 21 years and have some all-pros in the secondary, I don't want to use the word rigid. I don't want to say that they were just stuck in their ways, but they were definitely more comfortable playing a certain style of ball. I think this year they are very matchup specific, which is really cool from a defensive player standpoint, where you can say, hey, we feel comfortable living in any world. If you want to play, if it's a team where we feel as if zone coverage is the way, we will live in that world. If we need to, put on our hard hat and go blitz a little bit like they did last week against the Baltimore Ravens, they can do that. We've seen them play man coverage. From that vantage point, I think that he, along with Bobby Babich, have really evolved and become more of a versatile unit. And then you hear the players every single week speak about how he's evolved as a person and as a coach, and he's more loose and relaxed, and that's contagious to all the players down below him. So I know a lot of people are going to say, like, hey, he hasn't won this, he hasn't won that. I just know from what I see with my own two eyes in terms of scheme, he is drastically different from what he was the first matchup in 2020.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, and I wonder how much of it is McDermott and how much of it is the development of these players, because Taylor Rapp not being out there, if you were to say this was Hyde and Poyer back there and you're missing one of those two, you're probably nervous going to the game, but I don't know that we feel that kind. I mean, it's a rookie after all. It is still Cole Bishop, but they've got guys that have been here long enough now that I think affords them that flexibility. Is that correct, Carl?
I would say so, but I think on the other end of the spectrum, they got a bunch of guys who don't know any better. And I think that's equally as dangerous. I remember, like, when I was a freshman in college, when we were going on the road to play Clemson, you're at Florida State and Yankee Stadium against Notre Dame, sometimes it's kind of just good to just not know any better. You don't have the fear of some of these great programs and all these historic places because I've never played them, so who really gives a damn, right? And I think some of these young bucks kind of feel the same way, like a Christian Benford. He doesn't care what happened in 2020. He wasn't there. A Cole Bishop, sure, like some of that experience stuff may come into play, but does he really understand the magnitude of the situation? It might be better that that's the case. You think of some of the other young players on the roster as well. So I think it goes both ways where, yes, they've changed, but they've also got some young, hungry pit bulls who don't really know anything outside of just biting and barking at anyone in front of them.
Carl Jones, WIVB, joining us, former Syracuse defensive back. Carl, you also were a special teams ace at Syracuse, and I've got to ask you for that part of the game, because who knows, it could be a special teams play. And we've seen some hiccups, for the Bills this season. Los Angeles comes to mind in that regard. But your thoughts here on if either team has an advantage in that matchup. And, hey, I'm on the team of have Khalil Shakir return punts. We didn't get to see that in the Baltimore game. Where do you come down on who should be returning punts this week?
If he's out there, he may get one, because I don't know how many fourth down opportunities he's going to get presented, considering that this is the magnitude of this game. Having said that, I'm right with you, though. It's all hands on deck. Put him back there with the 1 or 2 punt returns that he's going to get. He has, if something were to happen, injury risk, you have 2 weeks to rest for a Super Bowl, or all season for that matter, right? And then when you look at the kicking game, Harrison Butker obviously has the history behind it. He's kicked, I believe, 35 field goals in the postseason, which is 4th all time, I believe. This season hasn't been the case. He dealt with the knee injury where he missed about a month, and Tyler Bass has had his ups and downs, especially in the extra point department, So I don't know if on paper either team has like some significant advantage, but it will be, I know Bills fans don't want to hear this, if it comes down to another situation where T. Bass has to run out there or Harrison Butker has to run out there, it may come down to that. And I don't know if either team is super confident in their guy getting the job done.
So, Carl, players aren't going to look ahead beyond Sunday, but we as fans always look ahead and wondering what you think provides the best matchup for the Bills should they beat Kansas City. Would you rather face Philly? Would you rather face Washington? I imagine you'd want to face Washington, but then I think to myself, well, Jaden Daniels is this kind of juggernaut, and if he can get by Philadelphia, who knows how far that kid goes.
Yeah, I think you still take the young guy, and it's no disrespect to him. Philly's roster outside of quarterback, I don't know if the Bills have an advantage anywhere, which I think speaks to just how well they've constructed it over there, led by Howie Roseman. And that's not to say the Bills can take him down, because I think the Ravens had a lot of advantages as well that the Bills just beat them as well. You look at Washington, and I just pose this question for everyone listening. For those who don't play fantasy football, I need you to name 3 people on that roster outside of Jaden Daniels. Clinton Portis does not play for Washington anymore. Neither does Santana Moss. Mark Brunell has been long gone. And I think that kind of speaks to the carry job that Jaden Daniels has done. And he's phenomenal. He's great. I remember watching him at Arizona State when he was a freshman a few years ago, and he just looked different, right? But when you just put it on paper, I mean, no disrespect to what the great things they've been doing this year, but Philly with like their 55 All-Pros and Washington with a bunch of guys that you got to use it as the source to find out who they are.
Carl, I'd be remiss if we didn't. And last week we had live with us. He lives in Rochester. Adam Terry. I don't know if you ever crossed paths with Adam, but Syracuse broadcaster, played for the Ravens, 2nd-round pick out of Syracuse, and it was kind of cool to get his perspective on that potential matchup, or the matchup with the Ravens and Bills. But also asked him about Syracuse, and that was a fun season for the Orange. What do you do for an encore now?
Man, so grateful for Fran Brown and what he's done to just bring back the juice. That's kind of like the thing that I've really felt this year. Like, the on-field product is the on-field product. Things will ebb and flow. But when you are genuinely excited and you can feel it from not just the coaching staff, but the players and the administration and the social media department, all of that stuff is really infectious and really brings people to the games and have them excited about what happens on the field. And obviously, Kyle McCord and getting him from Ohio State was a godsend, and a bottle of champagne that I'm sure Ryan Day at this point really doesn't care about, considering what just happened on Monday. But regardless, for Syracuse, awesome to see, man. I'm just so proud to be an alum. Our group chat, we were going at it every single week, acting like we still on the field, acting like we can do anything about it. But it was awesome to see, man. And probably got to figure out the quarterback situation first. I do know they got a transfer from LSU, if I'm not mistaken, and see what he got. But I got faith in Fran Brown, man. His message is is really contagious. And that when you're a young man like that, you'll run through a wall for somebody like that.
And Carl, it's been some years since you played college, but are you good with where the game is at right now? Are you still enjoying college football as a product, given all the changes that have occurred since you played?
Yeah, I'm hard-headed. I'm going to love it. Like, regardless, it's kind of like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm still going to have that spot in my heart reserved for college football. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, so, like, I really didn't have a choice. Like I always joke with my people who maybe don't know, it goes about family football in Ohio, and sometimes the third thing gets jumped in front of the first. Like, it just is what it is. And now when you talk about the state of the game, it is in a spot where I think it can go down a slippery slope when you talk about NIL and then the transfer portal, and then now we're going to introduce revenue sharing this spring. I like college sports because it was not professional ball, and we're going to get into that area where it's becoming that. The calendar is also wonky. Like right now, Ohio State just won a national championship, and now they're focused on keeping their own roster together. Like that just doesn't work. Like imagine if the Bills or Chiefs win the Super Bowl next month, and the next day they got to worry about keeping their own free agents. Like that just doesn't how that works. So it can be improved upon, definitely. But in terms of the play on the field, man, I'm as excited as ever.
Now, Carl, what time does Buffalo Kickoff Live happen? If you told me tonight, 7 o'clock, I'm in. I'm ready for all weekend here, bud.
Buffalo Kickoff Live is 8 tonight. It's a different type of format, like a fandemonium thing with more of the fan perspective. But on Sunday, as always, it's at 11 a.m., 11 to noon. It's going to start, I believe. I don't know how it works in Rochester, but I do believe it's like streamed the first half hour, and then from 11:30 to noon, it will be on Channel 8 out there in Rochester for those listening, and then Channel 4 for back here in Buffalo. But regardless, can't wait. I'll be involved in the Sunday show, and yeah, I mean, you just live for moments like this. I mean, I grew up in the Brady Manning thing. I'm a '98 baby, and the fact that we're getting this just so soon after that wrapped up is just I can't put it into words.
Yeah, we're living through it right now, and we got a front row seat. It's been pretty remarkable, and we expect that Sunday will be another chapter that we remember for a long, long time. Carl, appreciate you giving us the time that you gave us this afternoon here. Let's do this again real soon.
No, thank you, and go Qs.
Thanks, Carl.
Here's Carl Jones, WIVB TV in Buffalo, part of the Buffalo Kickoff Live crew.
Kind of cool to get that perspective, right?
No question.
Yeah.
I love the point about this defense being less rigid than it's been in years past. It was always that same kind of like variation of the Tampa 2. You got the two deep safeties, and you very rarely got out of that base nickel. And he's right. Like, you just look at the Ravens game, and you see everything that they threw at them. I think when you have guys that have been with this coach for as long as they've been with this coach, they understand it. And then the combination of that with guys like Dorian Williams or Jamarcus Ingram, guys that don't know any better, they're just going to go out there and play. I think it's fantastic.
We started the conversation talking about, okay, there's a new starter this week because of injury. Taylor Rapp has been ruled out, so it's going to be the rookie Cole Bishop. And kind of what we expected, right? It will be DeMar Hamlin more as the free safety. I'm playing back. Cole Bishop, you might see come up in the line of scrimmage. You might see him matched up against Travis Kelce. Here's my question, Mike Danger. Cole Bishop's tackling, how is it? Well, he wrapped up pretty nicely on Mark Andrews on the one play last week. So I think that's a concern. If you're going to play Cole Bishop down in the box, certainly a key in this game.
Yeah, great stuff from Carl Jones. Appreciate him spending some time with us here in the Sports Bar. We've got happy hour right around the corner. We're going to get more into this game. AFC Championship Sunday, 6:30. Bills, Chiefs, give our predictions, and your predictions as well are welcome at 585-866-4FAN. Join us, 866-4326.
Sports Update.
Bill safety Taylor Rapp has been ruled out for the AFC Championship game. It'll be the rookie Cole Bishop in his place. Christian Benford for Buffalo is also listed as questionable, still going through the concussion protocol. Deion Dawkins knows the Chiefs' defense will present different looks.
You have to be aware of the moving parts. There's so many moving parts, and they have so many skilled players that you just have to have your head up. You have to know what call is being called, and whatever call is being called, you have to execute it with the communication of where we're going. Don't overthink it. We are here, they're there. Block who you're supposed to block.
Bills Chiefs join us for the pregame coverage Sunday beginning at 2 here on the Fan Rochester. We got the Amerks tonight. They're in Providence. The team in Hartford tomorrow. RIT Hockey home for the first time since December 7th in a regular season game. Tigers tonight hosting Niagara. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
This is Conference Championship weekend. The stakes couldn't be any higher.
It all comes down to this. In the AFC Championship, a trip to New Orleans is on the line.
Bills, Chiefs, 6:30 Sunday night.
I think it's about execution this time of year and who's able to execute, play after play.
If we play our game, we got a shot to win at the end, and we always have Josh Allen.
Mike Danger.
We're going to be on the edge of our seat, even if you have a 2-score lead and it's the fourth quarter. You know who the opponent is. You know how this works, and you can only breathe that sigh of relief when the clock hits triple zeros.
Yeah.
The Bills have become the Chiefs.
I'm going 30-21 Bills.
Gene Battaglia.
I was thinking about the movie Miracle. You hear the Herb Brooks speech saying, this is our time. Their time is done. That's how I feel about this.
Let's go, Bills!
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Sunday can't get here soon enough as we welcome you into Happy Hour, the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Special thanks to our viewers on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend. We love when you share the good news here in the sports bar. We also appreciate you checking us out on the free-to-download Odyssey app or your smart device where we sound our best. And when you ask it to play, 95.7 The Fan. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Can we allow ourselves to imagine what Monday's going to look like here in the sports bar? It's going to be extreme one way or another. It's going to be like a Monday which we haven't had. And yes, the Bills were in the AFC Championship game once before in Kansas City. But when they lost, it was like, okay, you know what? This is only year 2 of the Josh Allen playoff experience. They're going to be back here. The Bills' time will come. This feels way more different. And it feels like Danger. It's a different approach, and I love it.
It is. And I think they're handling it all the right way. Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, all of these guys kind of recognize, like, look, we're not afraid of what happens if we lose this game.
Playing free, not fearing the consequences of messing up. And again, it goes back to making sure that, if we feel like we're prepared and we've given ourselves everything that we can throughout the week of preparation, we're on Sunday, let it loose and go from there.
McDermott talking about execution, which team executes the best. That's the team that's going to win. I mean, when you look at how the Bills performed just last week, they were pretty crisp. Defensively, they took the ball away. A couple of plays offensively that I think they'd probably want to have back, right? I don't think Dalton Kincaid wants a pass bouncing off of his face. But they're, for the most part, executing at a high level going into Arrowhead. And it's going to need to continue because the Chiefs are 2-time defending champs for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, and it's going to be loud. So those pre-snap penalties, you can't have any of them. I mean, you want to talk about a clean game. I'm going to say they were penalty-free last week. I'm not counting the Dawkins penalty. That was kind of silly, but Mahomes has the ability to draw a call. You know that maybe there will be a PI call. Can you rise kind of above it? Can you be clean here? And you mentioned how James Cook has to be the best running back on the field. Maybe he really is the key because the variance on James Cook is, oh my gosh, he was the MVP of the game. He had, like he did in Miami, 3 touchdowns. He was all over the place out of the backfield. It's also, hey, it's against Philadelphia. I'm dropping a key pass here. So, or Monday night against Denver, I'm putting the ball on the turf. So, to me, James Cook.
Haven't had a lot of that this season.
No.
He's been different this season. I mean, and you brought up the calls. And I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, I know a lot has been made because if you're going to talk about the Chiefs, then immediately Chiefs fans are going to feel disrespected because everybody goes to, well, everybody wants the Chiefs to win. The refs are in your pocket. Of course they're going to win. It's all rigged. It's all staged. This perception that there's a controversy of them getting favorable calls after last weekend, a couple of 15-yard flags for hits to Mahomes' head last week, one which wasn't arguably a hit to his head. The refs might miss some obvious calls, but good luck, I think, getting any of those roughing calls or anything that's questionable because they missed a couple last week. And I think that helps the Bills in this game with Clete Blakeman's crew a little bit more. They already had the game week 11. The Chiefs had 57 penalty yards to the Bills' 24 penalty yards week 11. And for all the talking we did last week, Gino, about the missing pieces from the Bills' week 4 loss to the Baltimore Ravens, we didn't spend a lot of time this week talking about the missing pieces from the Bills' week 11 win against the Kansas City Chiefs, pieces that undoubtedly make the Bills a better squad going into Arrowhead than what we saw in week 11.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills ran kind of a conservative approach. You did have a nice few downfield passes to Amari Cooper, I recall, in that game. But they didn't have Dalton Kincaid. You didn't have Keon Coleman. I think most importantly, you didn't have Spencer Brown.
Correct.
And when we were joined by Carl Jones last hour, he said it right. It's like, no offense to Ryan Vandermark, who did okay, but Spencer Brown is one of the top right tackles in this game. This is why the Bills locked him up. You couldn't have asked for this any better. We're like, oh, can this guy stay healthy? No, he's staying healthy, and he is dominating. And the way the Chiefs like to use Chris Jones, kind of like Bruce Smith back in the day. Oh, he's
all over the place.
Yeah, they're going to throw him all over the place. Okay, well, sorry, like you want to, like, good luck. There's not a weakness on this Bills offensive line. Not that there was before, but you get my point. So the Bills healthier on that side of the ball. And then not to mention Matt Milano, of course, not available.
I was just going to bring him up. He was also missing week 11. You saw him play out of his mind against the Chiefs last week. I'm sorry, against the Ravens last week, and expect he'll do more of the same against the Chiefs this week. And will he be a spy on Mahomes like he was for a big chunk of the game against Lamar Jackson? Possibly. But one thing that we discussed with Carl Jones from WIVB last hour is just the flexibility that Sean McDermott has had with his defensive play calling. It's not as rigid as we've seen in years past. And I wonder if that flexibility is a key factor in confusing Patrick Mahomes. Just knowing Mahomes, I think the first few times these teams played, just kind of knew what he was looking at. And if you're going to blitz me, I'm going to make you pay. They could throw a lot of different things at Mahomes and do to him similarly what they did to Lamar Jackson. I don't think he'll be as easily confused as Lamar Jackson was, and I certainly think he'll protect the football better than Lamar Jackson did. I don't think you're going to see any errant downfield throws where you're wondering what the hell was he looking at when he threw that pick last week to Taylor Rapp. So I think it's going to be more challenging to get takeaways from the Kansas City Chiefs, but I do like the idea of the Bills being more diverse as far as what they throw defensively at Patrick Mahomes.
Can their defensive line get home? That's where it is. Because if you're going to give him time, guess what? Even though the Chiefs wide receivers, they're not the scariest bunch. They're not. Ooh, Hollywood Brown is back. Oh, okay. Yeah. I will take Christian Benford and also Rasul Douglas in this matchup. But if with any quarterback, if they have the time there, funny how these same topics in these key games. Can the Bills pass rush get this done, Danger?
A simple game, right?
Yeah.
The game is won and lost in the trenches. Can Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau get home against what appears to be the weak part of this Chiefs offense, their offensive line, especially if you're talking left guard? You get a backup left guard in there. Can you exploit that matchup? Can you get to Mahomes and can you finish? That's the thing that's maddening when you watch a team play against Mahomes, is just ability to evade, escape, and get 2 yards when there's not 2 yards to be had.
Listen, you are mentioning James Cook as being that key player. I'm looking at Ed Oliver. Like Daquan Jones, you're tying up somebody. Can Ed Oliver turn it up field? Like, we've seen it. We've seen it in the past from Oliver. You need this in this game. It'd be nice to get something out of a play out of Ebenezer or Von Miller, but to me, that interior of the Chiefs' defensive line can be had. So, just trying to knock Kansas City back in some of these drives.
We discussed it earlier in the week. There have been 58 Super Bowls. 4 teams have made it to the conference championship in an attempt to three-peat. You got to go back to 1976 where the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Oakland Raiders. In 1990, the 49ers lost to the New York Football Giants. In 1994, the Dallas Cowboys, looking to three-peat, lost to the 49ers. In 2024, will the Kansas City Chiefs lose to the Buffalo Bills? I say yes, they will. Final score, Buffalo 30, Kansas City 21.
I mean, I like trying to envision how this game will be played out, and I see kind of the scenario what we saw last week, meaning, hey, it's halftime. The Bills could be up by 7. They could be up by 10. Maybe they get the ball to begin the third quarter. We're all feeling pretty good. But guess what? It still is the Chiefs. It still is Patrick Mahomes. They are still going to make plays. They're not going to go over, and they do have something historic to play for, okay? And who knows? This might be the last game you'll ever see Travis Kelce playing. You don't know what the future holds for this team. I think the Bills hold on. I think they do it. I'm predicting a low-scoring game, 27-17, Buffalo, to go to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 1994 calendar year.
And we respect Andy Reid. He's going to go down as one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, if not the greatest NFL head coach of all time. But I don't want to lose to a guy that is absolutely sold out his dignity. I can't lose to Bundle Ruski do. Give me those nuggies. I like where we're at.
Are we going to get to a point, like if the Bills start winning, we're going to have Sean McDermott doing insurance ads? I got to tell you what, if you think Josh Allen, you see him a lot now, you're going to just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, you'll get tired. Well, we won't get tired of it, but Josh Allen has the potential to the same fatigue you have over Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. You could get fatigued of Josh and Haley as well. I mean, that could be something down the road that outside of Western New York, people were like, oh, really? Again? Here we go again? Are you serious? Yeah, Bundle Ruski do is a little bit too much for me.
Oh, the nuggies.
And over those nuggies.
Yeah.
What will it take to get those nuggies? Yeah, he's kind of given up on his dignity. Good head coach. I don't want to lose that guy. Not this year. Not this time.
Or is it his quarterback saying,
Yeah, I'll do the commercial, but I need to take care of my head coach, and I need to take care of my players.
That's not bad, Gino.
Well, it's good to be here with you, Mike Danger, in the sports bar. I'm very excited. This is a very, very diffdiffied test for us, and we're going to be fine.
You should stop disrespecting the Chiefs. If Binkley heard you right now, it'd be a national, emergency.
This would be replayed right now in Kansas City on 610 Sports, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City.
Oh, no.
How dare those guys in Rochester make fun of our quarterback?
No. Oh, no.
Piggy.
Piggy. Sean McDermott earlier on GR making it official. Taylor Rapp will miss the game. It will be Cole Bishop starting at safety for the Bills. Look for Cam Lewis in there as well. He'll probably get a little bit more playing time. And man, speaking of Cam Lewis, just thinking back to the times we've talked to him at training camp, what a story. What a great kid. Just really, really all about playing football. He's just it's cliche. He's a football player. He's the kind of guy that McDermott loves, and he's getting these opportunities. And I was worried there because I thought our lasting image of Cam Lewis with Buffalo was going to get posterized by Justin Jefferson. But, man, he's made some plays. He's contributed when he's been called upon.
Yeah, they stuck with, that, and there was a running into the punter against the Dolphins. Like, oh, that was really bad, too. They extended a drive. But, the Justin Jefferson play, that's the high point for Viking fans the last few years. A lot of fun players on this Bills team on both sides of the ball. So what do you think? 866-4FAN, 866-4326 is the number. I think in the other game, Danger, you and a lot of people are just looking past the Eagles. Hearing Carl Jones say, no, that's a team that's physical. They're home. That's too much to ask. And if something's got to break, the four falls of Buffalo quarterback curse and Jalen Hurts actually getting back after losing in his only appearance, or a rookie quarterback has never started in the Super Bowl, I'm going to lean on the side of Philadelphia in this one, and I'm going to lean on the side of Vegas. And here's why, Danger. Because divisional game, you're going to give me 6 points in what's going to be a close game? That's a tell to me. Like, they're telling you to take Washington when really Philadelphia is the play here.
They have more talent, there's no question. And the reason why I'm going Commanders besides the quarterback play, Jaden Daniels is just spectacular. And if you haven't had the chance to see him yet, when you do get the chance to see him, you'll understand. I mean, the guy does not look like a rookie out there. He plays like nothing bothers him.
Yeah, okay.
Can't be affected.
Do you think the Bears got it wrong?
No, I like my guy.
Well, why don't they talk about that more? If Jaden Daniels really is that good.
I've heard that conversation. Yeah. Did the Bears get the wrong guy? And I've heard people say, yeah, they got the wrong guy. I like Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be fine. He's not going to be Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is doing what he's doing. Jaden Daniels could regress next year. We don't know. I mean, if Cliff Kingsbury isn't there, what happens to Jaden Daniels then? My point on this matchup between the Commanders and the Eagles, and while I'll listen to, hey, the Eagles are far more talented roster, absolutely. It's a hard thing to argue, but what I see the Commanders doing as a team looks different than what the Eagles are as a team. There's a lot of talent in Philadelphia. There's also a lot of kind of like friction and drama and this guy this and this guy that and who said what and who did that. The coach isn't really, doesn't appear to me to be any sort of unifier. Love Saquon Barkley. We've talked about Saquon Barkley from when he was back at Penn State. Love me some Sharkwan Sharkley. But there is something about Philadelphia that just, from a chemistry standpoint, I know that this is, you can say who cares about chemistry. There is something to that, right? You can't say that if you're a Bills fan because look at how much different this team feels this year without Steph Diggs in the locker room, right? There's some of that I feel like happening in Philadelphia.
Something's gone with A.J. Brown. Like, you shouldn't be reading books on the sideline. Don't give me that. If you want to read something, take a look there at the film and the last play. And
yeah, I wonder if it's deeper than that. Yes, that's the obvious. You could absolutely look at what he did and what he does and be like, that guy's a problem. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think it starts with Sirianni, actually.
Wow. I mean, he's been on thin ice there, and it's crazy that they're back in the championship game. We're having this conversation. Aaron joining us from Pittsburgh. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going? I mean, the Eagles are going to lose because the curse is real. Jalen Hurts lost in the Super Bowl. He's not going to get back.
I love the curse. Big fan of the curse. Big fan of the curse.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, thanks,
Appreciate it, Aaron. Yeah, big fan of the curse. If you don't know what we're talking about, the stat that I heard at the beginning of actually it wasn't the beginning of the postseason. It was like towards the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were looking at who was going to be in the postseason. And I remember thinking as the season was winding down, when Tampa gets in, Baker Mayfield's going to get to the Super Bowl because it's not going to be Goff and it's not going to be Jalen Hurts, maybe Matthew Stafford. The curse dates back to the Four Falls of Buffalo. Since those 4 Super Bowl losses by Jim Kelly, there hasn't been a quarterback in the NFL who has made their debut and lost in the Super Bowl to ever make it back to a Super Bowl. And so going into this postseason, you had 2 names that qualified for that curse. One was eliminated last week in Jared Goff, and I predict that the other will be eliminated on Sunday in Jalen Hurts.
I just think it's remarkable that Washington is got a position for a rookie quarterback. And thinking about this through, it's probably just as simple as, hey, if you're a really good rookie, chances are you're drafted near the top of the first round. But if you're drafting that high, chances are the team around you really isn't that good. So you got to kind of wait for everything to kind of catch up along the way. See Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, really good quarterback. First year, not so good. In fact, he got hurt as well. Just how everything kind of came together. It's a fun story. It's a fun story. And a head coach where Dan Quinn, okay, that guy.
Man, it's a study in alignment in the NFL. Like, everybody's moving in the right direction. You got rid of the dysfunction. It's gone in Washington.
But what you're asking for is something to happen that hasn't happened since 2018, the 2018 season, meaning 2 teams, both road teams to win in the championship game.
Yep.
I remember that day well because there was a snowstorm in the area. We were planning a CMF appearance with Duffy, and that didn't happen. And I told that was the day I called the program director in SHED. And little inside joke.
Oh, no.
Yeah, doesn't your mind work like that? Like you remember certain days and certain games?
I mean, Championship Sunday for me, the tradition is my brother-in-law's basement, and we're going to eat and drink way too much, and we've got all the different foods from the opposing team. So we'll have buffalo wings and Philly cheesesteaks, and I'm making Kansas City ribs, and and we're going to do bacon-wrapped something for the Hogs in Washington.
I'm going great plate.
Oh.
With Kimmy at
yes,
at
Gino.
Taproom Chili there.
Christian Benford is still in concussion protocol, did not practice today for personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Fear not. I have a feeling that, Sal and the Bills' independent neurologist
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
will be clearing Christian Benford before kickoff, and he'll be out there on Sunday. Before we get to a round of shots, just some other notes from around the NFL. There are a handful of stories here that I think have been pretty juicy in terms of coaches landing now with new teams. I think the juiciest is what happened with Jacksonville in Liam Cohen, who has been hired to lead the Jags as the team announced that today. Cohen, it was just earlier this week, right, that they moved on from Trent Baalke. I mean, Cohen was considered a candidate, then withdrew his name, was about to become the highest paid coordinator in the league by Tampa to stay as their offensive coordinator. Shad Khan moves quickly, swiftly, and decisively to move on from Trent Baalke and get his guy. Liam Cohen will be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What's going on in Dallas? We had the report that, okay, they made a decision on Brian Schottenheimer. Okay, we're more than 24 hours past that. And if I know Jerry Jones, he's not going to do it. This is not a Friday afternoon news dump. This is, I want to command the news cycle. You don't announce anything. Are we actually going to get to Sunday morning and the Cowboys still don't have a head coach here? There's another report, Danger, that this is the son, Stephen Jones, who wanted Schottenheimer. Jerry just wants something bigger, more flash, still holding on to Deion Sanders.
I love it. I love that Jerry is probably scolding his son, an adult man who's been with him side by side running the organization. No, not good enough. We need to be bigger. We need to be better. And I think Cowboy fans would agree. Brian Schottenheimer may very well end up being a good head coach in the NFL, but in terms of flash, in terms of marquee names, that it feels like a path of least resistance. But that's
how they hire.
What they've always done,
yeah.
right? That's the Cowboys. And a 3-year deal with an option for a 4th for Pete Carroll. He's back. He'll be with the Raiders as the Raiders have hired Carroll to be their next head coach.
Good for Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
And I honestly, and good that you had an owner. It's like, because in this day and age, you want the young Liam Cohen, the next up and guy. And like, there's something to be said for a guy that has experience.
If you're a Raiders fan and you're not excited about this, think about it this way. Look at the other coaches that reside in the AFC West. You need somebody like a Pete Carroll in that division when you've got Andy Reid and Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. Like, now you've got a guy who can hang with those 4 coaches, albeit advanced aged, ton of experience, Super Bowl under his belt, Pete Carroll. Now the third person, by the way, to be the head coach for 4 different franchises in the NFL, Bill Parcells and Marty Schottenheimer, the other 2.
Here's a fun fact. He's the oldest head coach ever to get hired. Not the oldest coach ever I'll tell you who it was in a second. Marv Levy, when he hung it up with Buffalo, was 72.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Carroll today is 73. I give you a bunch of guesses who the NFL coach that was oldest at the time. Romeo Crennel, 73. I didn't think he was that old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pete Carroll's going to turn 74 in September.
And, I mean, when he left Seattle at the end of the 2023 season, felt like he still had a lot of energy. Still spry. I mean, the guy has boundless energy.
That's what you need. Just kind of get an adult in the room. Like Antonio Pierce, that just felt certainly somebody you want on your staff, but he's not ready for that.
Will Mark Davis trust Pete Carroll? Will he listen to Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll, who probably knows a little bit about what it takes to build a program.
Pete Carroll dealt with, who was it? It was Leon Hess maybe at the time? I forgot he was the Jets head coach in 1994.
Yeah.
Certainly dealt with Robert Kraft the first time around. That's the fun trivia. Who came between Parcells and Belichick? It wasn't a direct. It was Pete Carroll.
Yeah, it was Carroll. I remember those couple of years in New England. Well, it'd be with the Raiders now. They got their guy. So Dallas and New Orleans, and kind of hold our breath here about New Orleans. Them not making an announcement makes you start to wonder.
Well,
are they going to wait until they know what's going on with Joe Brady before they move forward in one direction or the other?
It could be one of two things. One being, all right, you have a lot more people covering the Cowboys and these other teams and not, as opposed to the Saints. Or it could just be, all right, we know who we want, but we can't exactly talk to him now, that being Joe Brady. And I think we should all brace for that. Joe Brady is going to get that job.
Joe Brady's second interview with the Saints scheduled for Monday. Win or lose, he's taking that second interview, you would appear. That's some reports that are out there. We got to get to a round of shots here next on the Fan.
Yeah, as we've gone this way, haven't talked any hockey about that team that plays down the road.
The S word.
Oh, it was a very S-y performance
Yes,
last
it
night,
was.
more than ways than one. Like, are you kidding me?
I hated myself for tuning in.
Hey, we had kind of our preconceived notions, like this interpreter. Was he actually just kind of the fall guy? Was this Shohei placing the bets? Oh, no, the Department of Justice just kind of laid out some audio, and yeah, it doesn't look too good. We'll tell you what's going on with that. Ichiro Suzuki making an invitation, and a couple Bills notes. One omen that Ryan Talbot pointed out last night. I don't know if you saw this.
Okay.
You got to be a certain age. I'll explain for everybody that doesn't. Why this actually might be the year for the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
It's a pop culture reference.
We are going to get to that. A round of shots and last call before we close up shop at 6 at 585-866-4FAN if you want to join us. 866-4326.
Taking care of your Buffalo Bills fix. 95.7
Bill safety Taylor Rapp is not going to play in the AFC Championship game. He has been ruled out. It'll be the rookie Cole Bishop in his place at strong safety. Christian Benford is questionable. He remains in the concussion protocol. Head coach Sean McDermott has all the confidence in the world in Cole Bishop.
Yeah, it's high. He's a young player, but at the same time, he's grown, right? He went through an injury in training camp, missed a lot of time. That set him back, set his growth back, delayed it at least, and then came in and he's grown through each experience. Confident he'll continue to do that moving forward.
Bills Chiefs pregame begins at 2 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester this coming Sunday. Amerks in Providence tonight. They are in Hartford tomorrow. RIT hockey back home for the first time in a regular season game since December the 7th. Tigers tonight hosting Niagara. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Bills fans, Odyssey is your home for football. Stay up to date on everything Bills, no matter where you are, with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
All right, happy hour continues on the Fan. It's time for a round of shots, Gino.
Where we are just so sky high about the Bills, as you should be. My gosh, it's like the yin and the yang. Just when I can't say this can't get any more embarrassing for the Sabres. Here's today's Sabre stat of the day, Danger. Buffalo had a season-high 6 power play opportunities in their game in Calgary. Not only did they not score, they gave up 2 shorthanded goals. Buffalo actually led in this one at 1 point, 2-1. It's the 18th blown lead this season. That is tied with Chicago for the most in the league.
I'll vouch Chicago's a bad team as well. I hate that news about the power play, though, because that's going to come back around on our guy. It's Thappert. They're 27th in the league right now, and Lindy Ruff was just putting it on blast after the game, and that is a little concerning for our guy Seth there. Sabres tomorrow in Edmonton, 4 o'clock on WCMF. That will be in Fisher basketball tomorrow, the doubleheader. Nick Colby will have the men's call tomorrow. I'm disappointed in myself for even tuning in last night. I did tune in and, disappointed like everybody else who watched them blow their 18th blown lead of the season. That is disgusting.
Watch Severance with the executive producer last night.
Very good.
Add it to your list, Andrew.
I will. There is no list.
The Department of Justice has released audio tapes of the now convicted Ipe Misuhara. In these 24 different recordings, Misuhara is heard impersonating Shohei Ohtani. One time he calls the bank and identifies himself just as a friend of Ohtani's, and the bank still gives him the info in the withdrawal. That's a little alarming. The feds are asking for a 57-month sentence for the former interpreter of Ohtani. The sentencing will take place on February the 6th.
That is alarming, and I thought most banks I don't know how everybody's credit card might be set up differently, but if I try to make multiple purchases of a significant value in the course of 24 hours, inevitably one of those purchases gets flagged as suspicious.
Well, the way he was doing this, and this is a little, if you know somebody's personal info, one of these recordings, he's calling up the bank. Yes, hi, I'm locked out of my account. I need my password. Can you give that to me? Yes, and your name? Shohei Ohtani. And then gives...
So he's got all of Ohtani's personal information.
Yeah.
And they just give it to him because he checks all the boxes.
He checks all the boxes, and they're not... It's over the phone. It's like, holy cow.
And we're sure that it's him and not actually Ohtani on these recordings.
Well,
they're saying he's impersonating Shohei Ohtani.
Dude, it's the feds. This isn't the local yokel prosecutor.
It's not Boss Hogg?
No, it's not Boss Hogg.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, you say it's a guy impersonating Shohei. I mean, I imagine you're probably running it through the vocal harmonizer to make sure.
Probably, yeah.
Boss Hogg is back there trying to decipher these recordings. The tape breaks on him. He doesn't know what to do.
Baseball. Deep pull there. A baseball Hall of Famer, Ichiro Suzuki, was asked what he felt about the one baseball writer who did not vote for him for the Hall of Fame. Interesting response.
I have his response right here.
No, that's actually baseball writer himself. I would like to invite him over to my house. We can have a drink together, and we'll have a good chat. Just better, Ichiro, don't make that beer. Baseball writer loves himself some beer. And what happens after? I got blocked by one baseball writer for our bit. Like, it's not about you.
Oh,
It's just you in general.
I just think, you know what? Like, I get it. You're a journalist, and, you know, it's an important job. It's an important job to chase the truth, source your material, make sure that you're credible. There's a lot of people that, like, are down on ESPN right now because ESPN has become more about shouting than it has about storytelling. And I would say, yeah, there's some truth to that. I hear what you're saying, but I also think that there's got to be a middle ground here where if you're a journalist, baseball writer or otherwise, you know what? Every now and then take stock in what you do. It's not that serious, man. Have some fun with it. I think some do, but I just think the majority of these guys take themselves so damn seriously, and they have to make it. When they have the opportunity, they have to make it about themselves. And we see it every year at this time when they make the announcement for the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't know that it should be as big a deal as it is that he isn't unanimous, but the fact that it was one guy, it's like, okay.
Right.
Congratulations, hero.
Right. Well, gosh, you just look at if you are a lawyer presenting your case to the jury, it's kind of set there. He's a Hall of Famer, so what are you waiting for?
Right.
Oh, he shouldn't be first ballot, in my opinion. This week in New Orleans,
yeah,
snow.
Uh-huh.
Mike Danger, is this a sign?
Ooh.
Catherine Fitzgerald, the Buffalo News, speaking to 5 psychics in the Big Easy.
Oh, this is good. I'm glad Catherine did this.
Yes, asking if there's any correlation to the meaning that it's a team in snow that will be coming to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks with the snow in New Orleans. Look, most of these psychics just spoke in platitudes.
What? Get out of here. What, they didn't give anything specific? They just kind of hit her with generalities and platitudes? Stop.
Yeah.
Wait, are you meaning to tell me that this psychics might just be for entertainment purposes? And not something you should base your real life off of?
I had a friend. I'm going to talk in code here, all right? I had a friend who didn't talk to me for a few months because there was a woman who was going around this, and she was never on our show, mind you. And I told her, like, oh, I'm gonna go to her show tonight. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, if you believe in that crap. What? It's real. I'm like, no, it's not real. I see a man. It's at a red gate. Oh my gosh, that's my grandfather. Yes. Like, honestly, you're a mentalist. Mentalists do things. Yeah. Psychics are not real.
And they didn't talk to you because you had that take?
Because my friend actually there's a whole big thing. He thought that this woman was connecting to the spirit of his mother. I'm like, no, please, I don't.
Now I feel bad because I feel like if you're that desperate for that connection to be there are plenty of ways that you can have that connection. I think the best way to make that connection if you're feeling lost is rather than pay a psychic, just close your eyes and be in the moment, be present and think about that person and what that person meant to you.
Right. Does the psychic do this on the side to help people, or are they just actually making money as an entertainer? Oh, that's right. It's the latter.
That's right.
Yeah, they all speak in platitudes. You can write to me, Gene.Battaglia.
That's with a G.
At Odyssey.com. Now, Danger, does this sway your opinion? One psychic pointing out that Josh Allen is a Gemini. And on February, whatever the date is, Jupiter goes into Gemini. It's actually February 4th. That is 5 days before the Super Bowl. And according to the psychic, that's going to bring great energy to all Geminis.
Great. Awesome. We need him to have as much energy as possible. We need him to stay away from Haley for the week leading up to the Super Bowl if they're playing. We need 2 weeks of keep Haley away from Josh. We don't want weak knees.
No going out in the Big Easy.
None.
No. Hotel.
That's right.
Yeah, go to boring Louisiana somewhere. don't go to the French Quarter.
We need that great energy, the Gemini energy. We need that.
Finally, this story pointed out by our good friend Ryan Talbot of NewYorkUpstate.com, who, by the way, will be joining us on Monday.
Nice.
Actor William B. Davis has put out a message. Now, likely, you've never heard of William B. Davis. He's a former character actor, and he's still with us today. 87 years old.
Oh.
He's living in Canada. Who is he? Well, I'll get to that. Puts out this message, quote, I am today officially removing my curse on the Buffalo Bills. If they are able to defeat Kansas City, I will permit them to go on and win the Super Bowl. Go Bills, go. Signed, Cigarette Smoking Man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this was a show from the 90s on Fox. Pretty dated by now, but The X-Files, where this shadowy man, who was just always smoking, known as the Smoking Man, would presumably fix things, right, in the government. And he said the Buffalo Bills would never win a Super Bowl in his lifetime. I think at 87 years old, William B. Davis just wants to make peace with the Bills Mafia at this point.
Yeah, well, he might be a fan. He's north of the border. He could, Canada could adopt Buffalo as their team if he's in Ontario, I suppose. But he also referenced in a Bare Naked Ladies hit, 1 Week. Right? Well, the song 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies references the Smoking Man from X.
I never knew that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The more you know when you listen to the sports bar.
Yeah. Well, good. So the psychics feel good about the Bills.
The X-Files.
X-Files feel good. Everything is going our way, Gene. There's no way we're coming back here on Monday disappointed. There can't be a chance of us coming back Monday disappointed.
Listen, Jupiter goes into Gemini on February 4th. That's all you need to know, Danger. That's it.
I wish my daughter was here right now. She could tell me the positive traits of a Gemini, because I have no idea what any of the astrological signs mean for anybody. But Gemini is what Josh is. He's a Gemini.
Isn't Gemini like the two twins? You have multiple personalities and all that stuff.
I have no idea.
You and I work with somebody, and she always talked about her multiple personalities and kind of made me scared a little bit. I'll tell you off the air who that was.
My wife?
No, she's not a Gemini.
No,
she's a. Well, this is more point that it's hooey. I know this because our birthdays are like 5 days apart. She's a Sagittarius.
Correct.
Sports-loving Sagittarius. Sandy.
Sports-loving?
That Sagittarius love sports.
Do they? Is that a trait of a Sagittarius?
Yes, that's why this is all hooey.
Yeah. Okay. Things are looking up. We've got psychics and the Big Easy. We've got the Smoking Man all on the Bills side. Nothing can go wrong. Monday is going to be awesome in the sports bar when we come back at 3 o'clock Monday afternoon.
Can you imagine if we get to play the Italian music? Oh my gosh! I just the first segment. I just hit it on repeat. I might just kind of go out, get the cigar. Am I allowed to smoke in the studio here?
Well, we're not allowed to get heat, so I think you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, have it. I'm going to smoke in the studio.
We're going to take a quick break. Last call is next. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326 as we close up.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, last call at 866-4326. We appreciate you checking out the Sports Bar this afternoon, every afternoon, however you do it. If you're driving around listening on 95.7 FM and AM 950, if you're watching on YouTube, our channel, The Fan Rochester, like, subscribe, share while you're there. We're streaming on Twitch as well at The Fan Rochester, and, of course, the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY. You can stream the show within the Odyssey app and get all of our podcasts, everything related to The Fan Rochester in the free app.
There hasn't been anything inflammatory on either side, certainly not out of Buffalo. This isn't inflammatory, but I think it is noteworthy. One of the quotes that came out of Kansas City today, and Chris Brown pointing this out earlier on One Bills Live, rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy of the Kansas City Chiefs says he is going to play this game with a chip on his shoulder because the Buffalo Bills passed on him during the draft.
So I'm nervous about Worthy only because of the speed. You don't have anybody that can match up with his speed, and I don't think there's a team that really does have somebody that can match up with the kind of speed that Worthy has. The thing about Worthy that I think is still a big question mark here in his rookie season, and maybe it improves over the course of his career, is he anything more than just a fast guy? Because we haven't seen a lot of nuance in his route running. He's kind of lost out there.
One play where, like, hey, you don't realize you're standing out of bounds when you caught the ball. I forget which game it was. He's the least physical wide receiver in this league, Danger. Like, you just bump him off at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's Rasul Douglas, if you're lined up. Yeah, good luck with that.
Right, very easy to kind of compare him to what the Chiefs had in Tyreek Hill. And I remember Tyreek Hill early in his career being the fast guy, and it got better and it got better and it got better. And I think if Andy Reid works with Worthy, I'm not going to say Xavier Worthy is trash or they missed on their first-round pick, because he's very, very fast. And if he can get better at route running, be more than just a very, very fast guy, which is what I think he is right now, then, yeah, he could be a problem in years to come. We haven't seen it yet, and we don't know if we will see it. And we know that the Chiefs haven't hit on all of their wide receivers here since moving on from Tyreek Hill, and it honestly hasn't even hurt them. Who knows what we're talking about when we get back here on Monday? We could be talking about a Chiefs three-peat attempt or the Bills making it back to the Super Bowl. I prefer the latter.
Yeah.
So if you missed any of today's show, including Carl Jones from WIVB TV in Buffalo, or PJ Glasser, who shared his winning picks for Championship Sunday, you can find both of those conversations wherever you get your podcasts. That includes the free-to-download Odyssey app. Just search out the Sports Bar, and if you're in the Odyssey app, any part of the show that you may have missed with Odyssey Rewind is available to you. Just scroll back and listen to the entire show if you so choose. Monday, we're back at 3 o'clock. Ryan Talbot will be joining us from the Syracuse Post-Standard. And both Gino and I believe we will be playing some Bruno Martino. The Bills get the win on Sunday night in Arrowhead. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. Gino, have a great call at RIT tonight.
Thanks, Andrew. Have a good weekend, bud.
You too. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester. Go Bills.